Good evening and welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting of May 6th. The board did meet in closed session with no reportable action. At this point, I would like Amy King, who's on the corner, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Amy. Full house. Superintendent Kramer, are there any changes to the presented agenda?
No changes.
Would any board member care to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment is item 7. Public comment consists of 3 minutes, and you are able to speak on any item that is not on our current agenda. I do have one public comment here. If there are other people that are interested in making a comment on items not on the agenda, there are forms to fill out. At this point, I have Rick Werble. If you would come to the podium and just state your full name, you have 3 minutes to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Could, Rick, sorry, push that button so that it goes on. On this mic? Yep, thanks.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, Board, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. On April 2nd, my wife and I received a call from District Employee Anna Marie Cohen informing us that our son, who was in a special needs program at North Tahoe Middle School, was going to be involuntarily transferred to Truckee High School next year. He's currently in 8th grade. We were never given any prior notice of this. There was nothing in writing. There was nothing discussed during his IEP, and we strongly oppose it. Our son, Jace, has had a phenomenal, I'd say, time at North Tahoe Middle School and before that at Tahoe Lake Elementary School. The kids and the environment he has been in have been nothing short of phenomenal. The kids treat him like one of their own. He is literally one of the most popular kids on campus. They look after him. They provide a safe, secure environment for him. With encouragement from the school, we put him in track this year. When it was his turn, and because of his physical limitations, he gasses out. That whole team ran with him the last part of the thing, one boy taking him by the hand, making sure he crossed the finish line. It's that kind of environment that we refuse to take him out of. It's not about the Truckee High has such a good program for special needs students. It's about taking him out of the environment that he has thrived in so well. We have looked at the legality, and per the law, under the Americans with Civil Disabilities Act, school districts cannot change a child's EEP or placement on their own without prior written notice or parental consent. The child must remain in place until the dispute is resolved, none of which the district did or has made any effort to do. I've already filed a complaint with the district regarding this issue. We're not going to put a Jace in a school where nobody knows him. We feel he will regress if he goes to a strange environment that is, over 20 miles away from our home. Under his IEP, it says that IEP special education services will be provided at the child's school of residence, which is North Tahoe. Our other child is in a 7th grader at the school. He does receive some special education services there as well. His IEP would be changed if you were to remove the special education teacher from there, and she still doesn't know. They haven't told her where she's going to go, and she's devastated. We feel it's discriminatory against our son, and that it wouldn't have happened if he had been a mainstream student like the rest of the kids.
Okay. Thank you very much. Oops, sorry. Thank you very much for that, Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments for public comment at this point? Seeing none, I will close public comment and move to 8.0. Student representatives. Let's start with Coldstream Alternative. Is Quinn present?
Good evening, Superintendent Kramer, members of the board, and members of the cabinet. My name is Quinn Holland. I'm a senior at Coldstream Alternative. This is, unfortunately, my last board meeting as a student rep. I'm off to my next chapter in June. I've really enjoyed updating you all every month, and I feel I've really found a wonderful place at Coldstream. With that being said, I'll dive into tonight's announcements. All of our alternative education programs begin state testing this week. Students are working hard and approaching these assessments with focus and diligence. We eagerly await the results of their hard work. It was an unforgettable trip to Montana for Ms. Herrera and the students from Sierra High School. They presented their Wolf Project documentary at the International Wildlife Film Festival, and it was a fantastic premiere. Students also had the opportunity to see wildlife, including grizzly bears, bison, and wolves, and enjoyed visiting so many cool areas. The trip was a great success. Additionally, 4 Sierra High School students completed the Town of Truckee Tech Teen Program. This program provided several weeks of hands-on learning in large-scale systems, infrastructure, and computer-based services. Students worked with organizations such as the hospital, airport, law enforcement, including the FBI, and Town of Truckee Municipal Services. Upon completion, students are eligible for internships in various technology fields. These students were selected from across the region, and we're proud of their achievement. Last week, Sierra High School staff attended the California Continuation Education Association conference, where they collaborated with continuation high school educators from across California. During the conference, Sierra High School was honored with the California Continuation Model School Award. Sierra High School also hosted their Creed Honor Roll Breakfast, celebrating a record number of students. At Sierra High, honor roll recognition reflects not only academic performance, but also attendance, behavior, and commitment to the school's core values. Alternative education programs held credit update meetings with students and families last week. These conferences provide an opportunity to review student progress, and we had a great turnout with many positive and productive conversations. Looking ahead, Sierra High School will host its annual Breakfast and Books event at District Office on June 5th from 9 to 11 a.m. Also, alternative education graduation will take place on June 9th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. At the North Tahoe Event Center. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Before you leave,
Yes.
this is unprecedented, but I'm going to do it just because I can. I tell your mom I owe her a letter. We got a letter from your mom today, but just a couple questions for you. Quinn, tell me a little bit about your next step.
I am taking a gap year to pursue my sport of cross-country skiing over the next year and see how far I can make it before I go off to college skiing.
What happened to, did you get accepted somewhere?
Yes, I was recruited to Denver University to ski NCAA.
Totally. And so, Chris, was there a question you wanted to ask Quinn?
Did you
Yeah.
receive some new hardware recently, young man?
Yes, I won the Junior National Championship in Cable, Wisconsin this winter.
Okay, just so you know, we applaud every athlete and every student here on campus. However, we did get a lovely letter from your mom this morning, and just
you.
one of those things that's just really fun. And we really, really appreciated your input and your updates every week or every month from all 3 schools. So well done.
Thank you.
You'll make a great public speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then from North Tahoe High School, we have Kenya and Randy. Are you here? I thought I saw, yeah, there you are. Thanks.
Set that there. Hello. All right. Good evening, and thank you for having us tonight. I'm Randy Martinez,
And I'm Kenya Alini.
and we are excited to share some updates and recent activities that have been happening on campus and events coming up in May. Recently, students participated in the engineering trip And a chemistry students traveled to the DRI lab in Sparks, which was really fun and provided new experiences and hands-on lab activities. April was also a very active month for our school. We held conference night, a grit field trip, and transcript review meetings. Students also participated in the Trashin' Show, visited local elementary schools, and showed their outfits. Sadly, we couldn't bring any pictures. I'm sorry about that. And they also took part in Earth Day at Palisades. We also hosted a successful blood drive. In addition, our principal traveled to Anaheim to receive the California Distinguished School Award on behalf of our school. So, yeah. The students also attended the TMC engineering field trip, also the UNR Innovation Day, while staff members participated in a bowling event for team bonding. Other activities included freshman survival, which came out with a great turnout. And Voices for Change had a kermesse on Sunday, the 26th, and we raised over $1,300 for the club.
Looking ahead to May, we have many exciting events planned for students and staff. Throughout the month, students will be participating in AP testing and CASP testing. We will also continue hosting dance lessons during lunch. This week is Staff Appreciation Week, and leadership has planned several activities to recognize and thank our staff members. On May 1st, we celebrated Day of the Child with a folklorical assembly. On May 5th, there was a combined North Tahoe School and North Tahoe High School kermesse. Additional events include the job fair on May 7th, senior signing day on May 8th, and the fashion show at the Gatehouse on May 10th. Students will also enjoy lunchtime mariachi performances, distress painting before finals, and 2 lunchtime tie-dye sessions.
All right. There are also several important student events coming up later this month, including Link Crew Initiation Day on May 20th, Powder Puff Under the Lights May 22nd, so please show up, y'all, and every 20 minutes program on May 28th and 29th before prom. We would also like to share a quick sports update. Baseball is currently tied for first place in the league for the first time in many years, hoping to make a strong run towards states. Softball has had a great season filled with improvement, teamwork, and many competitive games.
Boys golf has had the largest team it had in years and is preparing for regionals and states, with hopes of bringing home another title. Track and field also has had its biggest team in many years, with over 70 athletes participating this season. The team has broken several school records, and the boys team has had a strong opportunity to compete for the first state title in school history. In addition, several students have qualified for outdoor nationals in Oregon. Thank you again for your time and continued support of our students, staff, and school community.
Will you two be returning next year?
Yes, we will, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, you guys. And from Truckee High, Brooke Johnson.
Hello, I just wanted to say thank you for hosting today, and I'm very happy to be back today. I was here last month. And as you know, my name is Brooklyn Johnston. I'm a freshman at Truckee High. I do track, and this is my first year with the high school leadership. So for ASB, we had our elections, and they turned out very well. Our president is Ella Wingard, and our vice president, Sadie Doris, our treasurer, Mia Kim, secretary, Emma Burban. And then, as you guys know, Teacher Appreciation is happening this week. We have made cards, door decorations, and yesterday we went around with a cart for food for the staff, going from classroom to classroom for each teacher. Each staff member will also be getting an ASB coupon to get some general swag at the ASB room for every teacher. Prom planning has begun, and we have officially had the North Star Pavilion booked. It's going to be happening May 30th, and we are working with Rubicon for catering. We have also just recently gotten our decor, and we are currently planning on different aspects and table decorations. We will be getting a final head count of people on Friday, because that is when our tickets will finally be stopped selling. The end of the year rally will be happening very shortly. We don't have quite a specific date yet, but we know it's going to be the week before seniors graduate, so the week prior to June 3rd. So the end of the year rally will be high school musical themed. We have started making decor, and there's going to be a senior slideshow, and it's going to be really cute and happy. We will also be moving sections as symbolism. We will be moving the freshmen to the sophomore side, the sophomores to the juniors to seniors, and seniors to the floor for the slideshow. And the spring sports are finally coming to an end. Track is winding up. Many of us made it to regionals, me included. And we are going to states next weekend, and regional finals are going to be happening this weekend. Baseball and softball are the same. They are both having regionals this weekend on Friday and Saturday. And lacrosse girls are undefeated, and boys are 9-3. And we will be having a cheer info meeting on tomorrow, and tryouts will be May 21st. And that is all. Thank you.
That was great. You did it. Brooke, you did well without even looking at those notes. That was awesome. Totally fine. Let's move on to, I got carried away here, 9.0, Superintendent Kramer?
Yes, President Driller, this is one of my favorite meetings of the whole year. We get to honor teachers, support staff, just amazing team members in TTUSD. So what I'm going to do is I'll go up to the podium, and I will invite the person being celebrated and someone that's going to say a few comments about them. So then, board, if you don't mind, come stand in front. And so recipients, you'll stand there while some very lovely things are said about you. And then we'll have you come down the receiving line. And then if you don't mind waiting right in front of those friendly cabinet members over there, we'll do a group photo at the end. That makes sense. And we'll help you along the way. So we'll move. So first up, we're going to invite Principal Amy King and Erica Allstat.
Just going to turn me this way. I'm Amy King, principal of Donner Trail, and I am thrilled to introduce Erica Allstat as the TTUSD Elementary Teacher of the Year. If you were to walk into Donner Trail towards Erica Allstat's classroom to spend the day with her tomorrow, you'd pass by a line of unique little free libraries in process, designed and measured by students in Erica's class, built by Erica's dad after she convinced Mountain Hardware to donate the supplies, and being intricately painted by students according to their design. A mushroom, imagine that, a hexagon beehive, the Yuba River. You would turn the corner to see plants growing from seed in trays next to the windows, part of a collaboration with other teachers to bring learning to life, literally, along with the Worm Farm project. And you might walk into her classroom to find her students practicing the class play that they wrote together, full of humor and popular songs that name the states, after she eschewed all the perfectly fine and readily available plays about states because they were not quite right for her students. And this is a typical day for Mrs. Allstat, who never makes things easy on herself if something else is better for her students. But even all of this is not what makes Erica the Teacher of the Year. It's her deep and true belief in the power and joy of education and how she shows up for everyone at Donner Trail. And it's her absolute and unconditional love for every one of our students, whom she calls love bugs, who feel her love in every lesson, every challenge, every celebration, and every hug. I know I can speak for our staff when I say that we are incredibly grateful to work with Erica, learn from her, and be inspired by her. We are so proud that she is our Teacher of the Year.
Next up is Assistant Principal Jason Fleesock and Dr. Dave Stakely.
This might be the first time I've ever given him flowers, but I hope it's not the last. There we go. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Kramer and everyone here this evening. My name is Jason Fleesock, and I am the Assistant Principal of North Tahoe High School. It is my honor to recognize Dr. Dave Stakely as a TTUSD High School Teacher of the Year. Over the past 9 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside Dr. Stakely, first as a science colleague and now as assistant principal. And I can say without hesitation, he is one of the most exceptional educators I have ever encountered in my entire career in education. In fact, Dr. Stakely was on my interview panel, which brought me here to TTUSD nearly 10 years ago. Dr. Stakely brings an extraordinary passion for science and for students into every single classroom experience. His students aren't just students, they are active scientists when they step into his room. I can give endless testaments to this, but one that stands out is this. His AP biology students are continuing now in their third year, collaborating with UC Santa Barbara evolutionary biology professor on a DNA sequencing project involving the local snowflower population here in Tahoe, with the hopes of actually doing publication. And this is just one example of authentic high-level learning that's happening right here in his classroom. Beyond his expertise and innovation, what truly sets Dr. Stakely apart is his commitment to relationships and belonging. He works very intentionally, literally tracking every single authentic student interaction he has in his classroom to ensure that every single student feels seen, supported, and challenged to reach their full potential. I recently asked one of Dr. Stakely's 9th graders to tell me about their biology experience this year, and I'm going to try to capture his words the best that I can. No cap, bio is my hardest class, but low-key, it's my favorite, and Stakely's the GOAT. Dr. Stakely is a highly respected teacher leader, a mentor to all of his colleagues, a model of excellence in education. We are incredibly fortunate to have Dr. Stakely representing North Tahoe and TTUSD. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Stakely for High School Teacher of the Year.
Next up is Principal John Newberger and Kelly Eberhardt.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Newberger, principal of Truckee High School. Great pleasure to introduce Kelly Eberhardt for Counselor of the Year. At Truckee High School, we talk a lot about excellence. We see it in our classrooms, clubs, on our sports fields, from our administrators. As a joke. I mean, it's true, but anyway. Okay, that one didn't land. I got more. But there's a specific kind of excellence that happens in the counseling center. It's a mix of high-level strategy, deep and quiet compassion. Over her career at Truckee High School, Kelly Eberhardt has become the backbone of our counseling department, serving as a master strategist for our students' futures. To watch Kelly work is to watch a master critical thinker in her element. She possesses this incredible memory that allows her to hold pretty much an entire student's career in her head. And not just the classes that they've taken, but the kind of person they are, perhaps their goals, their future, decisions on colleges, things like that. Kelly doesn't just pick classes, she solves complex puzzles for our students and the community. Whether it's navigating concurrent enrollment, varsity sports schedules, students' work commitments, or supporting a student's social emotional needs, Kelly always finds the path. She understands that her job represents the framework to students' success. She anticipates hurdles before they appear and ensures that high school logistics don't stand in the way of a student's potential. Kelly is incredibly smart, profoundly kind, and just a caring advocate that listens with intention. Especially in the high-pressure environment that many of our high school students find themselves, Kelly is the steady hand, level head, and calm presence for our students and staff. So if Kelly's the brain that keeps that engine going for our students' academic plans, your heart is what makes everyone feel seen and supported. So congratulations to Kelly Eberhardt.
Next up is Executive Director Mr. Mike Shepard and Patty Veery.
It's my pleasure to speak a few words about Patty. In human resources, we have two goals: put adults with and in front of students as quickly as possible, and treat everyone with great customer service. Patty exudes those qualities. In HR, we celebrate employees. Sometimes we help employees deal with very traumatic experiences, things they're going through, and connecting them to resources. Patty does all of that without missing a beat. And she's very efficient, very fast, but compassionate, and takes the time needed to meet all employees where they're at. So it's a pleasure to work with Patty every day, and we're all better for her being one of our employees. So congratulations, Patty. Thank you.
Next up is Principal Rachel Cuddle and Jeremy Martin.
Okay. I said I practiced it. It's just 1 minute. Wow. I am so honored to say that Jeremy is our Employee of the Year for Custodian in the district. Overjoyed is what the staff were in our staff meeting today as they cheered for him, because we've known all along that Jeremy is truly one of a kind. He is our helper, our problem solver, the yes guy, and our gatekeeper who does it all. As you know, an elementary school is a busy, sometimes messy, but magical place, and Jeremy handles every single day with positivity, patience, and heart, following our school's values. 1 minute, he's making sure our campus is sparkling and safe, and the next, he's helping with an event, fixing the unexpected, or, like the picture I sent in, he's kneeling down, tying TK's shoes. But what makes him truly special is the way that he loves our students. Tonight, I had so many students who wanted to be here to speak about him. He has a whole gaggle of little students who choose to spend their recesses either cleaning, gardening, or collecting trash instead of going outside at recess and playing. And Jeremy takes them under his wing, patiently teaches them with little gloves he orders them and little green hats that they wear so proudly. He talks with them, and he makes them feel so important, and that is invaluable, Jeremy. Jeremy doesn't just take care of our school, he helps create the feeling of family that we say we have at Glenshire. We are so proud of him, and this honor could not have gone to a more deserving person. Well done, Jeremy.
Next up is Director Kat Saltamorand and Hortensia Panaagua.
Good afternoon. It's my honor to present Chef Hortensia tonight for the Classified Employee of the Year. She isn't someone who just feeds our students. She nourishes their soul. When you walk into that kitchen and you smell and see everything that has made, you know it's made with precision, it's made with care and a lot of love. At Kings Beach Elementary and throughout Tahoe Truckee, Chef Hortensia has redefined what it means to lead a school kitchen. Whether she's revolutionizing our breakfast in the classroom, it's not easy, and meticulously ensuring every piece of fruit is perfectly bite-sized, her energy is unmatched. She treats our cafeteria like a 5-star restaurant. Really, if I add anything extra, I'm in trouble. Viewing every student not just as a child in line, but as a guest deserving of a meal made with a lot of love, dignity, and excellence. Beyond the logistics and delicious, nutritious food, Hortensia's heart is what truly transforms school and school meals for many children. She greets everyone, staff and students alike, with her famous, infectious smile, warm hug, and endearing La Chula. Her empathy and warmth create a safe space in the kitchen and cafeteria. Chef Hortensia, thank you for your unwavering dedication, your proactive care, and making sure no child goes without a meal served with a side of sunshine. You are the heart of Kings Beach and truly the Classified School Employee of the Year.
I'm just going to translate it for our speaker, Spanish speaker. So,
Romy Branje, our operations.
Yes. So, es un honor reconocer a una persona que no solo alimenta a nuestros estudiantes, sino que nutre sus almas. En la escuela primaria de Kings Beach y en todo el distrito escolar unificado de Tahoe Truckee, la chef Hortensia Paniagua ha redefinido lo que significa liderar la cocina escolar, ya sea revolucionando nuestro programa de desayuno en el salón de clases o asegurándose meticulosamente de que cada trozo de fruta tenga el tamaño perfecto. La energía de Hortensia es inigualable. Ella trata nuestra cafetería como un restaurante de 5 estrellas, viendo a cada estudiante no solo como un niño en la fila, sino como un invitado que merece una comida hecha con amor, dignidad y excelencia. Pero más allá de la logística y de la comida deliciosa y nutritiva, es el corazón de Hortensia lo que verdaderamente transforma nuestra escuela. Ella saluda a todos, tanto al personal como a los estudiantes, con su famosa y contagiosa sonrisa y un cálido abrazo, llamándonos cariñosamente las chulas. Su empatía y calidez crean un espacio seguro en la cocina y la cafetería. Chef Hortensia, gracias por su inquebrantablemente dedicación, su cuidado proactivo y asegurarse de que ningún niño se quede nunca sin una comida servida con una dosis de alegría. Usted es el corazón de Kings Beach y verdaderamente la empleada clasificada del año.
Next up is Assistant Principal Ashley Perkins, Coordinator Barbara Kane, and Maria Torres.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Kane, Coordinator of Translations and Bilingual Community Services. I've had a front row seat to Maria's journey here at TTUSD since she started back in 2017. She began as a school monitor, then moved into the classroom to support our students, and finally joined Bilingual Services in 2018. And let me tell you, the growth we've seen in her has been remarkable at our district. Maria is an absolute rock star and a leader in our school community. She handles more bilingual services tickets than anyone else, about 2,200 for the year. I counted them today. But she's not just checking boxes or doing the tickets that the work that requires. She fosters real connections with families through her thoughtful outreach, follows through in sharing school and community resources, and makes time to ensure families access information and services within our district and in our community. She took the opportunity to complete the community interpreter training, and that was really the cherry on top to prepare Maria to serve as a cornerstone in bilingual services. This allowed her to become the best interpreter she can be for our families, knowing perfectly when to be a professional interpreter and when it's time to be the vital community liaison. Her passion and dedication for students, staff, and families is unmatchable.
Evening, everyone. I'd like to add a few more comments. What makes Maria, especially our paraprofessional employee of the year, is her heart. The way she's taken our community engagement to a whole new level. She doesn't just provide a service, she builds the deep relational trust between home and school that we all strive for. She's a living example of what it means to create a true partnership with our families. She's built this incredible following with our families. She's truly become the link that brings our community into the heart of our schools. We can't talk about Maria without mentioning her dedication to our students. Our students, especially our youngest elementary learners, absolutely adore Maria. And it's because they know how much she truly cares about them and their families. She shows students how much she genuinely cares about them through her compassionate words, thoughtful actions, and the smile that she shares with them every single day. Maria, your compassion and dedication go beyond the walls of this district. We are so proud of you. Congratulations.
Okay, for our final recognition, Director Anna Klofstead and Coordinator Pat McKechnie will be celebrating Bernie Cerullo.
Aw, shucks.
Good evening, TTUSD Board of Trustees, Superintendent Kramer, and everyone else here tonight. I'd like to present Bernie Cirillo with the TTUSD 2026 Skilled Trade Services Employee of the Year. Bernie is the district's heating, cooling, and plumbing craftsperson. But Bernie is the most popular district employee every January. And it looks like he'll be in demand as temperatures get into the 80s next week. What makes Bernie great at his job is his breadth of knowledge across all things maintenance related including filling in as our electrician, measuring water content of the snow on top of Truckee High in the middle of a snowstorm, and brute strength when we need to set up the stage at North Tahoe. But the characteristics that make Bernie exceptional include bringing problems and solutions, exuding optimism every day, and being someone everybody has a positive relationship with. Congratulations, Bernie, on your TTUSD Employee of the Year award.
Congratulations.
If we can invite everyone to join the board, we'll do a group photo.
Just for the record, we're going to hold off for a few minutes before we get reconvene. I will bring the meeting back to order. Lovely presentations as we have amazing staff and students here, our staff and teachers. Moving to 10.0, Superintendent Kramer.
And it is my privilege to introduce again Principal John Newberger for the Truckee High School Showcase.
Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Kramer, Cabinet. John Newberger, Truckee High School Principal. We're going to change our own internal agenda so that our performers can get to their other engagements. But so I'm going to introduce Jesse Steele real quick, and then I'll be back.
Thank you very much for having us here today. I'm here to talk about the music program at Truckee High School. But first, I just want to thank Tahoe Truckee Unified School District, the board, really for providing such robust support over decades and decades and decades. I was a student at North Tahoe in the 1990s, and my music experience there completely shaped my life. And because of that, I'm here teaching these students, and I hope that they'll continue the tradition in one way or another. We have so many good things happening at the high school right now. 2 jazz bands, a jazz combo, 2 performing ensembles. We have a guitar class, and we're just about to get a choir club started up. So we can have some sort of choral presence in the district, potentially in conjunction with the Tahoe Truckee Community Chorus. And then I want to say as well, in 2 weeks, the band's going to be traveling to San Francisco to attend the symphony down there, and then we're also going to perform on the USS Hornet aircraft carrier just to get our music out as well. I also want to talk about the support that Proposition 28 has allowed us. We have a coach named Zach Lazan who's really changing things at the high school. He's been coaching the jazz combo, who's going to play here in just a minute, who just recently took first place at the Reno Jazz Festival, which is kind of a big deal. And I would figure I'm going to hand this over to the band council president, Marguerite Vachon, who's going to be on her way to go perform in North Tahoe at 7 o'clock. So Marguerite, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you for switching around the agenda a bit. Hi, board. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Marguerite Vachon. I'm a senior at Truckee High School, and I've been part of the band program for 4 years. I was extremely fortunate this year to finally make my way up to band council president. So that's been super great, and I just want to share what the band program has meant to me. I'm going to go to CSU Northridge next fall to pursue horn performance, and none of that would not be possible without the program here. I've been able to go to Disneyland, where we played in a recording studio, which was just phenomenal. I performed at many honor bands, including the All-State Honor Band this year, which was amazing, and many other concert halls with well-known conductors who have just guided like a whole big group of kids through music with such emotion, and it's so challenging as well, and like that span of a week, so it's been so incredible. And all of that's been possible with Mr. Steele, Tempo, my private teachers, the program here especially, and it's just been the foreground of my high school career. And I'll always love looking back on the memories I've made, and I'm super thankful to have the program here at Truckee High School be so strong and growing as much as it has. So I really hope that it can continue to bloom and provide for students like me and many more to come. Thank you so much.
And now we're going to hear a short performance by the award-winning Truckee High School Jazz Combo.
Thank you, that was awesome. Very thankful. We're gonna ask that every board meeting start that way.
Okay. Well, so since we had the band students perform, we're going to change a little bit of our agenda here, and I'm going to have, here it is, Callie Martin come up, talk about our arts and ceramics and fine arts, some of our other fine arts offerings. Okay.
No, you got it.
Okay, yeah, it's that one. Well, now I'm on the wrong side.
Good afternoon. Is that okay? Okay. My name is Callie Martin. I've taught art and ceramics at Truckee High School for the past 7 years, 18 years total as an educator. My primary goal is to teach students to think like artists and provide them with the visual language of expression and exploration. A thorough arts education provides a holistic and transformative experience for students. It is crucial for developing essential life skills, including creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, self-confidence, and resilience. Additionally, the arts significantly improve students' mental health by reducing stress and anxiety and connecting them to meaningful forms of self-expression. Art has a powerful capacity to transform shy students into confident community members and redirect dysregulated students into focused, calm storytellers. I want our students to have the creative capacity to tell their stories, create meaning out of abstract ideas, and produce a collection of artwork that is representative of their inner and outer worlds. Students at Truckee High School are fortunate to have a comprehensive art curriculum while using high-quality materials and mediums, such as charcoal, pastels, watercolor, ink, and acrylic paint, along with block printing, collage, and sculpture projects. The ceramics program is equally robust, covering hand building, sculpting, and wheel throwing. Specialized equipment, such as a new high-fire kiln and wheels, were generously funded through Excellence in Education grants. Our art students have had the privilege of participating in local and national art shows and competitions, including the Reno Tahoe International Art Show, the Nevada County Arts Council Show at the Truckee Airport, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and the annual juried exhibition for the National Art Honor Society, and currently on display a self-portrait show at Truckee Town Hall. These art shows invite board members, teachers, parents, students, and the community to see incredible artwork and hear students speak about their process, directly building their self-confidence and communication skills as active community contributors. The fine arts at Truckee High School are not merely electives. Art, ceramics, and music are vital catalysts for student success. High-quality instruction and specialized resources deliver measurable academic and emotional benefits. We so appreciate the board's continued support, Excellence in Education, and funding from Prop 28 in sustaining and growing this essential component for our students' overall development. Okay, so on the slideshow, so right now we offer art and ceramics taught by myself. Next year we are so excited with the help of Prop 28 to offer drawing and photography taught by Courtney Clark. We right now have a National Arts Honor Society chapter, which you will hear from the president in just a moment. And hopefully this will allow us with the continued programming to offer, again, AP Studio Art in the future. Okay, here is a video made by our students, which some of them are here. Violet Fillinger and Mason Himes is here. It's over there, yeah.
I was going to say Lupita's not here, though.
Probably up. There you go.
No, for
It's a
some reason
separate-
we couldn't get it to it.
there it is,
so it's
yeah.
Separate.
There you go. Oh, no. Uh-oh.
We'll get it.
Yes.
Are we sure?
I hope this is the right one.
We'll
find out.
Two versions.
My name is Nico Suarez. I'm a senior at Truckee High, and through the ceramics and art programs during the last 3 years, I've developed skills and has helped prep me for continuing education in art in college. This last year we got 2 new wheels and a new kiln through Excellence in Ed through the TTUSD board. Forever grateful for the skills and community that I've built through Truckee and has helped me prepare for college.
My name is Violet Fillinger. I'm a junior at Truckee High, and
and I took art as a freshman and I fell in love with it. I proceeded to start doing nails. With the pathways that is offered at Truckee High School, I've definitely opened up my eyes to other forms of art like ceramics, and I took ceramics this past semester and now I'm a TA for Miss Martin, and it's the best decision ever. I'm so thankful for all of the opportunities. Art just made my life so much better.
My name is Mason Himes. I'm a junior at Truckee High, and I wanted to express my gratitude to not only Truckee High School's art program, but the amount of resources and the amazing teacher we have in Miss Martin.
Shout out Miss Martin.
The art class really revived my love for art and made me find my true passion with art. The effects of me taking art, I could see it furthering my education and potentially leading to a career path for me. So I'm forever grateful for Truckee High and its art opportunities.
Good job. Okay. I will now introduce Harlan Riley, who's going to speak as our National Art Honor Society president.
Good evening, board. My name is Harlan Riley, and I'm an 11th grader at Truckee High School. It is imperative that we fund and continue to fund the arts in our public schools. It is of the utmost importance that as a school, we are enabling students to be prepared for professional lives in which they can sustain themselves with a passion. As National Art Honor Society chapter president, it is my responsibility to encourage our art department to be versatile and able to empower all students interested in any level of artistic practice. As my friends, family, and classmates know, making art is the backbone of my soul. Especially since coming to high school, creativity has been my way of processing grief and celebrating life. It has even brought me so far as to win and continue to win several regional and national art medals. Behind me are two exemplary works of mine. On the left is a piece that was awarded a Scholastic Gold Medal, which I was lucky enough to receive at Carnegie Hall in New York City. And the other was awarded a NorCal Regional Silver Key and is included in my AP drawing portfolio. Art has changed my life, and I am certain it can change anyone's. At a time of political unrest and crisis, and amidst a veering towards complete digital reliance, expanding arts and education is vital to the future of our community and American society. Thank you.
Well, so Violet and Mason are also here. Can you guys stand up? So I just wanted to point out that they made that video about the arts offerings. So just wanted to make sure you guys got some recognition for that. And yeah, absolutely. So we are so happy with all of the offerings we have at Truckee High, and we're really excited that through Proposition 28, we are able to offer more next year. And so because we went a little out of order, I'll go back to the beginning here. Basically, Proposition 28 in 2022 was passed, and it's state-funded money for the arts. And behind me, it says basically what the formula is. It's enrollment-based. 80% is supposed to go towards staff and personnel. Think of that as the salary, and 20% towards materials and supplies. So we've had to be a little bit creative, and thanks to Assistant Superintendent Todd Rivera, we've been able to apply for a waiver every year when we don't use all the funds so that we don't lose them. On the bottom in the box is the THS disbursement. Every year it fluctuates a little bit, but what we're doing is able to use that money to apply towards things materials-wise. In this picture, you can see the curtains. We did brand new curtains for the theater. They were, I think, 30+ years old. When the gentleman came to replace them, he said, I don't even know how to take these down. It's like they were so old, and so we weren't. That wasn't something that was on Truckee High's list of things that we could do at the moment, that costs around $45,000. And so this is an instant upgrade. So that was completed last year. Here's some other materials purchases. A scrim, which I don't have a theater background, but I learned that a scrim is like a cloth that hangs in the back of the theater. It's really light-based, so we were able to get one of those. Lighting computer, we're currently purchasing a new lighting computer to operate the lighting system in the theater. Cameras for photography class, so we're going to offer that photography class, but you need cameras. Also we are hopeful that Excellence in Education will also help us out to increase the number of cameras we can purchase. And then piano maintenance. So Mr. Steele has to make sure that piano is really functioning the best it can. So that's an example of a regular thing that happens that we can use Proposition 28 funds for. On the personnel side, Mr. Steele also mentioned the band coach. We have this wonderful band, and one of the reasons is because we're able to provide more resources to our students through personnel. Hopefully we'll be able to get our choir club off the ground, which would be open to anybody, not classroom-based, right? So you don't have to take a class to do the choir club. And then starting next year, we're committed to doing 3 to 4 full school or partial school presentations offered by Arts for the Schools. And that's a great organization to partner with, and approximate funding for that is around $8,000. And so Proposition 28, it's definitely a little bit more difficult to use in a lot of ways, but now that we've been doing this for 3 years, we really have a great read on how to spend this money and how to get the students more resources. And one of those things is the additional 3 art classes, photography, two offerings of photography and one of drawing. And that actually we're able to offer because Miss Clark, who's one of our math teachers, is also dual credentialed in art. And so that's been kind of like the ace in our sleeve, where a lot of schools are struggling to spend this money. We had to kind of look at creatively. Of course, we would want to offer, one of the things we want to offer is a video editing class. But unless you have somebody that has that credential, it's really difficult to get someone to teach 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week at Truckee High with a credential, and that's it. So we were able to leverage Miss Clark's experience and willingness to teach art. So we're really excited about that. Okay. Well, everyone introduced themselves. Ms. Clark couldn't be here, but that's her on the right, and she's really excited to step back into art. And then that center picture is Callie Martin with our art students at Town Hall. And, of course, Mr. Steele winning awards for his conducting. All right. Oh, let's see. I think that might be everything. Yeah, that's it. We did it. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Board, do you have any comments or questions?
No questions, but thanks to the students for sharing your artwork with us. And that goes to all the students that every board meeting we have amazing artwork that we get to experience without even leaving the boardroom, which is so phenomenal. But I do want to recognize that the arts sometimes are not always kind of at the forefront of what we're thinking about, right? We talk about academics and we talk about, sort of a student's experience, but...
What have you, so, and I don't know, here we go.
I think arts for many students is a lifeline that, Harlan, you talked about that too, and I know your parents very well, so they're very artistic also. But I feel like, you take it with you, and whether you go to college or you do something else, it's part of you. It's how you express yourself in whatever form of art that is. And I think it's just such an important part of our society to recognize that we have high schools, middle schools, elementary schools that offer these amazing art programs that really spark that sort of interest and lifelong love of arts, forever. So thanks for sharing that today. I really enjoy that we have such a variety of showcases that come to us, and arts is probably one of my favorites. So thanks so much.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that before this next year's offering, you could be a second semester sophomore before taking an art class at Truckee High School. And so by doubling the amount that we have, or no, actually it's 30% more. but it's okay. We're offering 3 more. We're hopefully going to get that hook for students that maybe don't love the academics as much, but they love the arts, and that can be the hook. And we hope that that will accelerate their willingness to be more engaged in school. So thank you for the reminder. It was on my notes, but
Yeah.
didn't.
Pat, you good? Yep.
Great presentation. I think we should have live music every board meeting to like set the tone, so to speak. You're the only student left in here, so I just want to say congratulations. What a life experience and a window into a possible future for you. That's amazing. And thank you to Truckee High for nurturing that in our students. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I just learned so much tonight. It's just amazing. I didn't even know about the Proposition 2000.
28.
What is it called?
Proposition 28.
Proposition 28 that started in 2022. Yeah, okay, that's what I was trying to say. And the presentation tonight was just really uplifting overall. Very, very informative. The band and the arts and the incredible accomplishments that the students are making are just profound. One of the things that came back to mind when we were watching the movie was, you know, when we passed the bond measures to be able to do the reconstruction of Truckee High, we really, really prioritized, from an architectural standpoint, the fact that the arts section of the high school was going to really pop. It wasn't just going to be an add-on or a portable or something like that. It was really going to be a feature of the front, you know, the west wing. And to see it being just completely 100% at capacity, and all you guys were so little when that construction happened. The campus was so different before. It was just such a different world, right? And now it's really just, it's almost like a preparatory, you know, college or preparatory high school. It's just really impressive. And to see everybody all across the board just embracing music, the arts, and one of the things that we have in our mission statement or our vision statement, I can't remember what it's called anymore, is embracing the whole child, right? Not just the academic, as Danielle mentioned, but also the artistic side. So thank you so much for the presentation. We were so honored to have you here tonight, and best of, I don't even want to say best of luck, because that really doesn't work anymore for me. It's like, you're just amazing. You're all just amazing, and just have a really, really nice time enjoying your talent.
Thank you for starting us off. I love it. Everybody stated everything. One question I was going to ask you, the addition to all of these classes that you have, I'm hoping that it was, I'm not hoping, but probably student-driven, or was there input from students saying they wanted this, and this is kind of what we ended up doing?
Yeah, this probably started maybe it's 2025, 2 years ago. We did a survey of students, and one of the biggest things that they really wanted was that video editing class, which we just couldn't figure out how to offer. But the desire to be in art is directly student driven, and that was, originally the survey that went out was all about what other classes can we offer. And so drawing is unique, photography is unique, and those were on the list. But that number one was video editing and graphic design. And so we'll see where it goes, but drawing, photography, forget what else was on the list, but yes.
That's one of my big plugs, is that I think that we as a district are definitely listening to what our kids want to learn and how they want to learn, and it's wonderful that we're able to do that. So appreciate it. Again, having your kids come in was phenomenal, so thank you, and I know it's a lot going on at the end of the year. So with that, a big round of applause. Congratulations.
I'm going to change the order.
Okay, yep.
So board, if it's okay, we heard that voice, We're fortunate that our polling consultants from TEAV Civics and True North are available. With your permission, I'd like to move item 21.1 forward and have them go next. If anyone has a problem
Okay,
with
this
that,
was
is
the
that-
reason we had it late was because they weren't available, and now they are.
Yes,
Okay.
there they are. So if you're okay with
Oh,
that, we will go
yes.
ahead, have Charles Heath and Timothy give you the update on the Measure AA parcel
Perfect.
tax polling. Okay?
Thank you.
Great, so welcome, Charles and Timothy. We'll hand it over to you. Thank you very much.
Charles, we can't, oops, Charles, it's not, we can't hear you yet, Charles.
Yep, they're working on it.
Oh, I thought he was.
How about now? Is that any better?
Yes.
Tim, if you're there, why don't you launch in while I fix my audio?
Sure. How is my audio? Do we have?
You're good now.
We're just getting a lot of feedback on our end. Now we can't hear you. No, I don't think. That was better.
Can you hear us now?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
And we aren't getting the feedback now either.
Okay. Okay, you're
We
on.
good to go?
Yep, you're on.
Okay. So why don't I go and jump in, and you can see the screen as well? The blue screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I'm Dr. Tim Clarney, president of True North Research, and with me is Charles Heath from Team Civics. My firm specializes in working with school districts and other types of public agencies and using surveys to help them develop a statistically reliable understanding of the communities and the customers that they serve. We've worked on a lot of studies over the years, a little over 1,500, and about 2/3 of the work that we're doing these days is what we call revenue measure feasibility studies, like what we're going to be talking about here tonight, where the goal is to understand if it's feasible to move forward with some type of revenue measure, and if it is feasible, to use the research to help understand how might you go about structuring that measure in a way that it's consistent with the type of measure that your community is interested in supporting. We've helped our clients have a lot of success to date. Our research has underpinned about $42 billion in voter-approved measures around the state, and about 93% of the measures that we recommend to go to ballot based on the research have been successful. I mentioned this just as background and context because as we go through tonight's presentation, or perhaps in response to questions from the board, I may make reference to how the results we're seeing here compare to what we typically see for these types of measures, and I just wanted you to have a sense from the experience base from which I'd be speaking. I also welcome questions from the board along the way or at the end, whichever is your preference. Okay, so going to jump in here. So before we talk about the results, helpful to review the purpose of the study as well as the methodology. In terms of the purpose of the study, we're really trying as a revenue measure feasibility study to address the 3 bullets you see here on the slide. The first is to answer that basic question of is it feasible? And what I mean by that is if you as a board were to choose to place the measure on the November ballot, does it have a reasonable chance of success? The answer to that question isn't always yes, right? Sometimes we do this work, particularly when you're working with parcel taxes that require a 2/3 supermajority threshold for passage. Sometimes we do this work and there's just nothing in the data that suggests if you were to move forward that you've got a good shot at success. When we do find that there's feasibility, the second bullet kicks in gear, which is, helping us use the research to help understand how can we structure this parcel tax in a way that it's kind of well aligned with the type of measure that your community is interested in supporting. That's both in terms of sort of the tax rate, right, the price tag for this measure, but also other things like how you propose to spend the money, what types of accountability provisions are built into the measure, et cetera. And thirdly, we're using the research to help guide future communications and outreach, right? Understanding the role that information plays and kind of shaping voters' opinions about your proposal. And so those are the 3 overarching objectives. In terms of the methodology or how we went about conducting the study, we're using the same methodology here that we always use when it comes to assessing the feasibility of a revenue measure. The first thing we always want to think about is what election is this measure going to be on? Different elections have different turnouts, and as you expand or you shrink turnout, you will tend to get a somewhat different profile to the group of voters who are going to be actually participating in that election. In this case, we're thinking about that November 2026 election. And so what we did is we looked at the every voter who's registered in the district, and based on when they registered to vote, what elections they've participated in since that point, as well as some other demographics, we will flag them as either a likely November voter or not. Once we've identified all those likely November voters, we use a process called stratified and clustered random sampling to choose a sample of these likely November voters that matches the profile of the total universe of likely November voters on each of the dimensions that you see here on this screen. So the balance in our sample by age and gender and partisanship and household party type and where they live within the district, that balance in the sample matches the balance in the universe. And that's one of the keys to making sure this research is reliable. Once we pulled our sample, we reached out using 3 different recruiting methods: email, text, and telephone. Folks had the option to participate either by telephone or online, whichever was their preference. The data collection was early in April, so April 6th to April 10th. And so for the most part, it's captured all the craziness that's been happening in the world up until sort of mid-April. So all those things like, the spiking fuel prices due to the war in Iran, that's baked into these results, right? And then finally, in terms of the sample size, we wound up completing 461 interviews as part of the study. And with a sample size of 461, it allows us to better than meet the academic standard for statistical reliability at plus or minus 4.5% at the 95% confidence level. And so what that means is we can be 95% confident the results we'll be talking about tonight are within 4.5% of what we would have found had we spoken with all of your likely November 2026 voters. Okay, on to the results. So we like to warm up our revenue measure surveys with what we call the importance of issues question, where for each of the issues you see there on the slide, we simply ask folks to tell us how important is this to you. Is it extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not at all important? Great warm-up question. Gets folks into the groove of taking the survey, kind of gets them thinking about their local community. It's also, though, an opportunity for us to understand how education as a topic stacks up against some of these other issues that also compete for tax dollars, things like maintaining local streets and roads and protecting the environment. And in particular, we look to see where does the issue of, or the topic of maintaining the quality of education in local public schools stack up against the issue of preventing local tax increases. It's a rough rule of thumb. It is surprisingly predictive that the more importance that voters place on the topic of education relative to this issue of preventing local tax increases, the better positioned you are to move forward with some type of education-related measure. The pattern you see on this slide is really the ideal pattern, what you hope to see. The very top of the list, you have maintained the quality of education in local schools at 89% of voters tell us that's extremely and very important. As you work your way down all the way to the bottom, very bottom, you've got preventing local tax increases coming in at 31%, right? So you've got a large gap here, about 38% in terms of the gap between maintaining the quality of education and preventing local tax increase. That is on the large side. Normally, when we're doing this type of work in a community, typical gap's about 23%. So that tells us a little something about your voters that you probably already know, that relative to the average community, your voters place more emphasis on education and are less tax rate sensitive than the typical community. So after this warm-up question, we get right down to business with what we call the initial ballot test. And the idea here is before we get any deeper into the interview and we start talking in more detail about how the funds could be spent, as well as presenting arguments pro and con related to this proposal, we want to present to them a mock-up of what we think that 75-word ballot statement could look like and get their reaction. The initial ballot test is a really good gauge of where your voters are at on the natural, because at this point they haven't heard or read or seen anything beyond what you see here on the screen. So you can see that this is structured as a renewal with an increase. So we're renewing the expiring $148 school parcel tax with a $40 increase for a period of 9 years, raises about $7 million annually to do the things that you see up there in the bullets. So that is the language that we tested, and here are the results. So at the initial ballot test, we had 67% of respondents tell us that they would support this proposal. You had 26% opposed, and you had about 6% who were unsure. So in the state of California, for a school parcel tax to be successful, it requires a 2/3 supermajority, so 66.6667. So we're sitting just north of that threshold at 67% at the initial ballot test. That was with by the way, so this was the results again, where we're testing a renewal of the 148 plus a $40 increase. If anybody was a not sure or a no at the initial ballot test, we went on to ask them early on in the poll whether they would renew at the 148. In other words, would you extend the existing amount without an increase? And you can see that what we have here is the folks that said, I'm a definitely yes at the $40 increase. Everybody else got the question. And so what you wind up with is 76% of folks are willing to go for the the extension of 148 without an increase, which is about 10 points higher than the group that was willing to go for the extension plus a $40 increase. Quick sidebar here, as we're going through, we want to understand how voters view the quality of education in the school district. The reason for this is sort of twofold. One, we tend to find that the better the job that they think you're doing in your core mission of educating students, the more likely they tend to be to support these types of measures. The other reason we like to ask it is we want to know what percentage of your voters are disconnected enough from the district that they don't know, right? They don't know how to answer the question because they don't know enough about you as a district to be able to answer this basic question. What you see here is kind of a mixed bag of things. On the one hand, among those who have an opinion, it's decidedly positive, right? You've got 20% rating the quality of education as excellent, another 39% as good, and about 13% fair. You have less than 5% who say poor or very poor. On the other hand, what you do see is there's a pretty large gray slice there, right? It's not quite a quarter, but it's close. Those are voters, again, who don't know enough about the district to be able to answer the question. So typically, when you're moving forward with some type of revenue measure, one of the goals is to sort of fill in this gray area a bit with some of the positive stories that the district has, about your performance, what your accomplishments are, and kind of give voters a sense for the good work that you do. So after that, we get right into what we call the programs and services section of the survey. And our goal here is really twofold. One is now we're going to start to educate this respondent more about what this measure would accomplish. Up to this point, they've only seen that 75-word ballot statement. You can only say so much in 75 words about what the measure is going to do. Here we get to unpack it into a variety of potential uses of funds. And in that way, they're getting a better idea about what the measure can do. The other thing it allows us to do is to understand of all the ways you could and consider spending the money, how do voters feel about each of those ways and which of these are their priorities. And when you look at this list, I broke it into 2 tiers just because it's a lot easier to read if I do that. And this is the top tier list of services and programs that we tested. All of these had about 85% or more of your respondents tell us that they would favor spending some of the money on that item. But when you get to the top up here, there's about 5 of them that kind of stand out in intensity, right? The dark green bar is quite a bit larger than once you go below that. And it's all the things that we typically see at the top of the list when you're looking at school parcel taxes. So STEM-related programs, attracting and retaining highly qualified teachers, CTE, maintaining manageable class sizes, and providing advanced high-quality academic programs that students need to get into college. So that combination of things is often the combination of things that when we do this type of work in other districts tends to float to the top of the list. This is just the second tier of items. Again, still popular. I mean, even the lowest rated item here about upgrading school vehicles for safe transportation during winter months, even though it's the lowest one on the list, it still has better than 3/4 of voters say they would favor spending some of the money on that item. So if you as a board were to choose to place a measure on the November ballot, there's going to be an election cycle. And during that election cycle, there will be a lot of discussion and debate in the community about your measure, right? You're going to have some folks who will go out and advocate on behalf of this measure, talk to their friends and neighbors about why it's needed and why they should vote yes. You might also get some critics, right? Folks who step up, say it's a bad idea, we shouldn't be doing it, and here's why. For this survey to be a reliable gauge of the feasibility of a parcel tax renewal and possible increase, we need to simulate that discussion and debate in the space of the interview so that we have a good understanding not only of where your voters are at today, which is on the natural, which is that initial ballot test, but what happens after they hear positives and what happens after they hear negatives. So shown here are the positive arguments we tested. Here again, I broke it into 2 tiers just to make it easier to read. The nature of the question is supporters of the measure say blank, you insert a positive argument. And do they feel this is a very convincing, somewhat convincing, or not at all convincing reason to support the measure? Top of the list here, all the money stays local, right? If voters support this measure, can't be taken away by the state or the federal government. Number 2 is kind of a similar argument. All funds for the measure go straight to supporting teaching classroom instruction. No funds can be used for administrator salaries. And then the third one's a little bit of a history lesson, right? The fact that the schools have depended on this parcel tax for 45 years now, and it's set to expire, and it represents about 6% of the district's budget and is essential to maintaining the quality of local public schools. So we test these arguments. You can see a lot of them get traction. Here's the second tier here. At this point, though, now voters have heard more about this proposal than they did at the initial ballot test, right? We had a chance to sort of talk about the extension with an increase as well as an option without the increase. We had a chance to talk in more detail about the types of services and programs that could be funded. We also presented positive arguments. We've yet to get to the negatives. So we circled what we call the interim ballot test. We present that same 75-word ballot statement. We say, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? You can see that we tick up a little bit at this point. We have 69% of respondents tell us that they would support this proposal. That's about 2 points north of that 2/3 threshold. About 25% opposed. You got about 6% who are unsure. And then we get to the negatives. And the idea behind the negatives is I want to pressure test voter support for this proposal by peppering them with a series of negative arguments, right? The kind of things that they could expect to hear from a critic. The reason for this is we want to know if you were to proceed with a measure and you were going to get vocal opposition, right? And we're testing a pretty long slate of negatives here, longer than we usually do. What kind of an impact might that have on voter support for your proposal? You can see here that some of the negatives do get traction. Everybody's sort of sensitive to cost of living and affordability issues right now. And so, this number 1 argument up here at the top, we just designed to go right at that issue, right? So we're not pulling our punches here in terms of the negatives. The real question, though, is what happens afterwards. And that is here. So at the final ballot test, after the negatives, cools us down about 4 points from where we were at the interim ballot test. We land at 65%. So now we're about 2 points south of the 2/3 threshold that's required for passage. That was with the $40 increase. If you make this just an extension without the increase, you can see even at the end of the survey, after opposition arguments, we still have 72% of voters who said that they would support that proposal. Okay, so what does all this mean? I've got a couple wrap-up slides, and then I know Charles has a slide behind mine as well. So I'm going to circle back first to the overarching question I mentioned at the outset as the main motivator for why we do this research, which is to answer that basic question of, is it feasible, right? If you as a board were to choose to place a measure on the November ballot, does it have a reasonable chance of success? This is what I call a qualified yes. It's a yes, but, right? I think based on these numbers, you've certainly got a reasonable shot at success, but the prospects for a measure do depend somewhat on the tax rate, right? We saw that with an increase, we're much closer to the 2/3 threshold line. Without the increase, if it's a simple extension, it is higher. And either of those proposals are going to require robust outreach and engagement to be successful. So why the yes part, or in terms of the feasibility? That's everything you see here under the positive signs, right? We saw that, education as a topic was the number 1 issue in the community. We had sufficient support for a parcel tax renewal with a $40 increase at 67% on the natural, or without that $40 increase, just an extension of the 148, 76%. All the programs and services that you're considering spending the funds on, those are all popular. We've got good, solid, positive arguments that get traction with voters. And importantly, kind of at each point in the poll where we circle back to a respondent, we say, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? every one of those ballot tests, we had north of 2/3 support for a straight extension, right, without an increase. And at both the initial and the interim ballot test, we were north of the 2/3 with a $40 increase. We were just 2 points below it at the final. So when you see those kind of things, this pattern, right, these things in place, it's the kind of things that we want to see for a measure to be feasible. That said, there's also some challenges that I think we want to keep in mind when you're putting a measure on the ballot. You always want to come into this process eyes wide open. The most obvious one is the one that we can't do anything about, right? And that is the 2/3 threshold, right? Bonds get to pass at 55%. That's an easier, less steep hill to climb. The 2/3 threshold is just a really high threshold. So, I can't think of a parcel tax or special tax measure that I've been involved with that requires a 2/3 threshold that I wasn't always a bit nervous and a bit hand-wringing, right, heading into election day, just because it's a really high bar. We did see a bit of sensitivity related to the tax increase, right? There's really solid support for extending at the current rate without an increase. Once we add the increase in there, we do see some softening of support. Again, we were still at that 2/3 level, but it definitely brings us down a notch. There's some voters that, are with us without the $40 increase. They're not with us once you add it. We saw a little bit of receptiveness to potential opposition arguments as well, knocked us down about 4 points. And then finally, we just kind of stepping away from the poll, but just sort of thinking about what a November election climate is shaping up to look like. There's a lot of unknowns between here and November, but, right now, and to some degree baked into your results, there are some concerns about cost of living and the economy. Tariffs and inflation are on people's minds. And there's a possibility of competing measures possibly on the ballot that, that would also possibly create a bit of headwinds. I mention these challenges not because they're insurmountable challenges, but you always want to kind of put a measure on the ballot and gauge your effort going into it based on, what you think are the headwinds that you're going to be facing heading towards election day. And, we're heading towards an election where we think there's going to be some headwinds. And so we just want to, gear our approach accordingly. So with that in mind, a couple thoughts. Number one, always important to keep in mind that, as well crafted as I think our surveys are and our track record is, a survey like this is not a crystal ball looking forward to election day saying you're going to get 2/3 on election day. It's a snapshot in time, tells us where we are today, how voters react to the kind of information that we think they're going to encounter during the election cycle. But ultimately what happens on election day isn't dictated by what your poll says today. It's shaped by everything that happens from this point forward, right? And so it's a reminder we got to make smart decisions about the measure that you put in front of voters so that it's aligned with the type of measure that they've told us they're interested in supporting. And you got to put the work in terms of district communications, and that's both what the district can do as a public agency as well as what an independent campaign can do down the line. And so with that, I'm prepared to hand it over to Charles. I think Charles has one slide to back this up, and then maybe we'll go to questions after that if that works for everybody.
Thank you. That sounds great, Tim.
Okay. Here you go, Charles.
Yeah, so as you might imagine in the current economic and political environment, it's, certainly not a certainty that when we test a 2/3 tax measure that we're going to see viability. Frankly, I'm pretty encouraged by these numbers. The fact that, even with a potential increase, we're still right around that 2/3 mark. And, with a strong communications effort, we can, put that support a few percentage points above the passage threshold in a more comfortable zone. So, as Tim summarized, we feel there is a viable proposal here. There's good reason to begin planning for a November renewal election. And in conversations with staff about, your budget and your current challenges and the fact that your parcel tax loses purchasing power each year because you don't have a built-in cost of living adjustment, I think that we've got a strong justification for that increase if that is something that you're comfortable seeking. And by the way, the $40 increase that we tested, it's not a number we just pulled out of the air. That does essentially restore the purchasing power of your parcel tax back to the same level it was when it was last renewed. That was sort of the logic of testing that amount. So the process from here, if we do want to proceed, we're here tonight presenting the results of our feasibility assessment. I think we gathered some good data to help inform how we move forward. The next step would be to take advantage of the district's ability to provide impartial information to the public. School districts cannot use public funds to advocate for the passage of a ballot measure, but you can use your resources to basically tell your story about the fact that you've relied on parcel tax funding for a long time, the types of programs and services that supports, and what the consequences might be if that funding were to expire and go away. That's going to help accomplish what Tim was talking about in terms of, building awareness, helping people understand why it is that we're considering this at this time. While we're doing that, we can also be working to build the measure for the ballot, take what we've learned through Tim's survey research, take also what we're learning through our outreach efforts and what we're hearing from the community to prepare the resolution that would ultimately come back to the board for approval that would place this measure on the ballot and determine the final terms of the measure that voters would be approving. I know you cover a 3-county area. Each of those counties has earlier qualification deadlines for ballot measures than many counties throughout the state. So the earliest of those deadlines is July 1st. So that's basically the deadline we're working against to qualify a measure for the ballot in your district. So I know you have board meetings coming up on June 10th and June 24th. If you give us direction to begin working towards that November election, I think our plan would be to bring that resolution back for your consideration on the 24th. So with that, Tim and I are both happy to answer any questions. We can discuss the support levels related to both a straight extension or a renewal and kind of the risk calculation that goes into that.
Thank you very much for that, both of you gentlemen. Bringing that to board, let's start with board questions. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for a very clear picture of what it is that you do and the information you got and how you went about getting it. I think you presented just about everything I need to know except whether it will pass or not. But I suppose we'll have to wait for that. Thank you.
I don't have any specific questions either. I think I've worked with you both in my other life at the town of Truckee, so I know you guys really do your diligence and provide quality information and make sure you're kind of testing all sort of options so that we have the tools that we need to make decisions about what's best for our voters, really, like what they would support. So I feel like the information is pretty clear that a renewal is going to have pretty high level of success. I think the $40 probably does give some people pause, based on the data that you generated. And so I'm wondering if there's maybe a lesser amount than 40 that still sort of gets us somewhere, but isn't the full $40 ad.
Charles, would you like to talk about that? We discussed that a bit. Why 40?
Yeah, when we were in the process of designing the survey, we thought about whether we should test a lower amount. I mean, I think that, when you look at parcel taxes kind of in the broad context statewide, $40 is a very modest increase. I mean, I have clients that are on this June ballot that have, increases north of $100. And it felt like, and I think this, had we tested it, the survey would have validated this, that the choice is really increase or no increase. And as long as the increase is in that kind of modest range, probably sub $50, I don't think changing the dollar amount is going to make much of a difference. It's sort of conceptually, are we just continuing what we're already paying or are we increasing it? So I don't think you stand to gain much if it were, for example, a $25 increase as opposed to 40.
I had a feeling that was
sorry, just to add on the, the dollars associated with a more modest increase, there's even more marginal value. And so at that point, kind of the bird in the hand of a straight renewal starts to become even more attractive.
Thank you for that, Chris. Charles, thank you. I did have that same exact question as to why 40, so thank you for the clarification on that. And then I do want to also, just for the public record, that your firm that we've worked with in numerous years has had we definitely understand your quality of work and your diligence on these, on our district, but I also want to bring out the fact that you are very familiar with our area, so that this testing that you did with all of your questions and creating the actual questions that you did for the questionnaires are very thoughtful and very poignant in terms of the area, so that you're very well aware of the other ballots that are on our that could be in our Truckee Tahoe area. So, for instance, again, you work with the library, you work with the town of Truckee. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands the actual value in having you and your company work with us because of your longevity with us, but also your depth of knowledge of our unique mountain community. So I definitely want to respect that and acknowledge that. Then the only other question I had is that there were, and with this decision for us to move forward with that knowledge that I just quoted you on, having any other additional ballots potentially joining us on the November ballot, something from Truckee or somewhere else, would that have any effect on our passage?
You know, competing issues always have an impact on any measure. I think what positions you in a very strong place relative to potential competition is that first question that Tim reviewed the data for. There is no higher priority for voters in your community than protecting the quality of education in local schools. So if voters do find themselves in a position where they have to pick and choose between issues, I think you're going to fare favorably. You know, all of the local agencies are facing the same deadline to qualify for the November ballot as you are. So, you know, in the next month or two, we will gather more information about what competing issues will be on the ballot before you have to make a final decision at the end of June as to whether or not to go forward. So we can also gather more information and factor that in. But, you know, I feel confident that, assuming, you know, a lot of this comes down to the assumption that we're able to do a good job communicating what your needs are, what the consequences of losing parcel tax funding would look like, run a strong campaign. You know, if we can do those things, then these are really strong numbers, and I think we'll hold up in the face of some competition.
Thank you for that. Anything else, Superintendent Kramer?
Yes, I just have to apologize to our Chief Business Officer, Assistant Superintendent. I'm sorry with changing the order. I didn't have you go first. Mr. Rivera, would you like to share any information or help the board know what we need to know tonight about whether we're moving forward or not? And I'm sorry that I didn't give you a chance earlier.
I don't have too much to add. I think Tim and Charles did a great job kind of assessing the feasibility of going out in November. I agree with Charles that I think there's a lot of evidence to show the community would support this in November. As far as the increase, I would probably advocate for going for the increase. Also knowing that our parcel tax does not expire until after the 27-28 years, so we would have other opportunities if it was not successful in November. But just to remind the board, currently the Measure A program as it stands, and obviously we know how wonderful Measure A is and what types of programs it funds, all the enrichment programs at the elementary schools, also CTE programs, science programs, as well as advanced placement at the middle and high school levels. So it's a very important program to us budgetarily, but also as a community. Right now, last time we went out for this last cycle, which was a total of 9 years, moving us through 27-28, we knew that we eventually would have a shortfall in the program. The board district has committed to maintaining our Measure AA programs as they are. However, it's a growing concern and a growing amount of contribution that the district is contributing to those Measure AA programs. So at best, there's an opportunity lost there every time we grow in cost for the district. Cost of education has grown by probably over 40% over the last 8 years or so. So being able to maintain the Measure A programs as they are is very important. So I think the increase goes along with that, that ideal.
Thank you for that, Mr. Rivera. With that, is there anything else that you needed to add, Superintendent, this is an information-only item?
Right, I think
would
we
need.
just want to know, we would bring it to you for action in June. I believe it's a two-step process, is that correct, Charles and Todd? We'll have potential ballot language for a first read, and then bring it back for action as a second read, is that correct? Okay, I'm seeing.
That's right, on the 10th and 24th. Yep.
So what we just need to know tonight is if you would like us to move forward with that potential ballot language with the 40% or $40 increase. And then you can always make the final decision and decide no, and that's, of course, okay.
Okay, so is that clear that we just make a decision to move forward? Does anyone have any reservations?
supportive of that.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the direction has been given.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in, and I'm glad you made it. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Appreciate our public, just because we had to do a little pivot. Thank you very much. We'll move to 11.0.
Well, and so I'm noticing, I just thank our students for waiting here so long, and I know we tried to move presentations up that had students. We had anticipated that the AI board policy, we were hoping to have a student speaker, they weren't able to make it tonight. So I'm wondering if the board is okay if we go ahead and go to 12.1, since I know we have students here waiting to make a public comment. I really appreciate your guys' patience. Okay, so
Thank you. So at this
thank you for being so flexible. We're
point, right,
switching. We go to 12.1.
Yes, I just was looking at that as well. So we are going to skip to 12.0 at this point. So you are going to do 12.1, Superintendent Kramer?
Yes.
And I'll do mine.
Okay. So with our standing athletics agenda item, one of the goals is just to give updates as they are available. So I was going to do two things, just remind the community of our current timeline, and then share about our first Community Athletic Committee kickoff meeting. So as a reminder for the timeline, we remain in good standing as a member in NI2A. T2SD will compete in NI2A next school year, in the 26-27 school year. T2SD plans to remain in NI2A for the 27-28 school year as well. Currently, we have an application with the CIF Sac Joaquin section that I believe is almost through their approval process that would allow us to become members on July 1st of 2028, and we would participate in CIF in the 28-29 school year. I do want to recognize that if circumstances change and the mandate no longer exists, that the district has time to change course. However, we recognize that our goal throughout the last calendar year is to make sure that we have a full sports program for our student athletes. We are preparing for the potential switch in the 28-29 school year, and that's the purpose of this Community Athletic Committee. So we had our first meeting on April 27th, and the focus of this committee is on the logistical and facility-based needs to support a switch with a focus on soccer and tennis, because as everyone is very familiar, those switch to the winter season. So we have 19 members on our committee. We have community members that volunteered from Lakeside and Truckee side. We have all of our rec and park districts, so that's Truckee Donner, Recs and Park District, Tahoe City PUD, and the North Tahoe PUD, along with our district staff. And so at that first meeting, everyone there is very familiar. We just made sure that we talked through what it meant for soccer and tennis and why that was our focus. And then it was a great discussion. So we had a lot of experts. We had coaches from soccer, from youth and high school level. We had our facilities team and, of course, Parks and Rec, who are maintaining various facilities throughout our area. And one of the takeaways I voiced to them, I was really looking for input on, is what should we focus on for updates? If we're mandated to move, how can we do soccer in the winter and tennis starting in the early spring? CIF starts their spring season in February, which we know is one of our, typically a really big snow season for us. So through the discussion, we talked a lot about artificial turf, and even if it's heated, what does that do? And the consensus of the group was really it doesn't extend the season enough for us. It doesn't quite get us there. So their recommendation, and we used a poll as well to make sure we got everyone's voice, was to focus on field houses. That is a great asset for our community, and if we hope we do not have this again, but if we have poor air quality due to a bad wildfire season in the area, it would still allow for practice and games. So in the end, our takeaways were that a field house on both sides, in Truckee and the lakeside, is the priority. So I'm glad we actually had our polling presentation. So Sven, the superintendent at Truckee, Donner, Rex, and Park, shared that they are currently polling with a different team regarding a possible bond for the November 26th ballot. That would include indoor field house, and that was part of their master plan that their board just adopted, I believe 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago. So they're testing that. We've been in conversation with that team over there who are terrific about our sports needs, and that is part of their interest in running the bond in 26, is making sure that they're supporting our youth and their sports needs with the possible switch to CIF. And then, as you know, Assemblywoman Heather Hadwick has been advocating and working on this on our behalf. Just to recap, she did work with Nevada. They asked for a non-enforcement agreement. Nevada declined. She works with the Assembly here in California as well, and so she has submitted her budget request to the California state for field houses both in Truckee and on Lakeside. And we haven't heard anything back yet. That was just at the end of April that she submitted her letter with funds. And what was great was that North Tahoe PUD had just done a similar feasibility study and polling to see if they could build a field house. Unfortunately, the polling didn't support it, but Amanda Oberacher, I believe now Connor, did share the study results, and they had great information about the various sizes of the field houses and estimated costs. And we worked with our team because we would have to meet the Division of State Architect Standards, so to get a realistic cost. And we were able to share all of that with Assemblywoman Hadwick's team so that her submission to the state is very much within the ballpark of what it would take for us to build a competition-size field house and then also a practice field house. So we really appreciate the community's continued support on this, and it's a very collaborative effort, and it just shows, again, with all of our community here tonight, the importance this is to everyone and how we're working together to try to find a solution. So we are, as a committee, will meet again the first week of June, on Tuesday, June 2nd. By then, Truckee, Donner, Rex, and Park District should have their polling results, and then that will help direct us as a committee as what our next approach is. So that is the update from staff about what's been happening with athletics.
Perfect, thank you. I do have some yellow sheets, and if there's more, let me know. I do want to read two notes that I have here before we start, and just know we appreciate you all being here. Before we move to public comment on this agenda item, a reminder on decorum. This is a board's business meeting conducted in public. Questions and comments shouted from the seats are not permitted. Outbursts do not add to the conversation, they only delay it. We want to hear your perspectives, but we will only do so through the established public comment process. I thank you in advance for helping us keep this meeting productive and respectful. When I call your name, please approach the podium and state your full name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Please keep an eye on the timer and conclude your thoughts when your time is up. Please understand that the board is here to listen and take notes. This ensures we're focused entirely on hearing what you have to say. Since this is an agenda item, after public comment, the board may choose to discuss the topic. We will not be answering questions or responding to comments from the audience during this time. To ensure every speaker receives their full 3 minutes without interruption, we ask the audience to refrain from clapping or cheering. And if you wish to show your support for a comment, please simply raise your hand. This allows the speakers to be heard clearly. We ask that everyone remains respectful of our staff, students, community, and board members. And then this is a comment just from the board about the athletic standing board item. This board is committed to providing district updates as they become available and continue to value the input of our community. Over the past few months, we have engaged with a dedicated group of parents, students, and community members advocating for specific legal challenges to our current mandate. After thorough review and consultation with council, the board has determined that these recommended legal paths do not align with the district's obligations or strategic approach. Because recent inquiries through our website portal largely reiterate these same themes, we will be transitioning away from this as a standing agenda item to ensure our meetings remain focused on actionable district business. We welcome continued feedback during the public comment portion of our meetings. Please note that updates regarding athletics will be added to future agendas as new information or development arises. I will also make a comment that there is a very, very extensive website platform that has all of this information. So please, if you have questions and you're unsure of anything that we have stated, it will be in that website. So I'm going to do students first. So ladies, we have got Emma Brown going first. Is that on? Yeah. The green? Okay, sorry.
Hi everybody, I'm Emma Brown and I'm the 9th grade at North Tahoe High. I've spoken at a few board meetings before, mostly out of impulse rather than having an actual speech. This time I have one. To start, I don't need to go into the logistics of why this move was the wrong one. The late nights, dangerous weather conditions, traveling over the pass, you've already heard all that before. And clearly that's already not enough, so I won't repeat what's already been said. Instead, I'll take a different approach. For girls at North Tahoe, we weren't even offered a middle school team. 3 years of waiting until we could finally represent the team that mattered. Mind you, the boys had a team, we did. We were overlooked, but I was patient, because I knew that once high school started, that would all be different, and that I'd finally get to play the sport that I love. And I got that, for exactly a year, and now it's being taken away again. I'll just say it plainly, no matter how many fake solutions we try to come up with to convince everyone that this is okay, frankly, none of them are good enough. You can't look at me and tell me that this is fine, that I can just go play flag football and pretend that I'm not losing the sport I played since I was 4. The really crappy part is that both North Tahoe and Truckee's girls soccer teams are championship winners, and I'm sure boys tennis teams have done great as well. And I realize that you're all trying, but let's face it. If this move happens, there won't even be a soccer team left to say it. If you want proof, here it is. This Saturday, I was talking to an upcoming 9th grader. She's an incredible goalkeeper. I don't doubt for a second that she could make varsity her freshman year. And now even she's hesitant, leaning more into volleyball, not because she loves it more, but because it's safer, less threatening. And the worst part is, I'm not sure that any of you actually realize how much a sport holds all of us together. You're not just taking away games and practices, you're cutting off connections, friendships, maybe sometimes even kids' dreams. And you tell yourself you understand all of this, what we're going through, but you don't. Because you didn't have to deal with any of this when you were kids. I shouldn't have to sit here and fight because I want to play my own sport. Right now, I should be outside playing with my friends being a teenager. And instead I'm here pleading my case to the adults who aren't even being affected by this move. So I'm asking you one last time, step away from the solutions even you don't believe will work. And just start listening. This whole community has bent over backward for you. Now it's your turn to show us why you deserve to sit here and make these decisions for everybody else.
Thank you, Emma. Up next will be Charlotte Kelly Canthers? Sorry, I can't even see. It's not, okay, oh, Crothers, sorry.
Is it on? Oh. Hi, my name is Charlotte Kelly Carruthers, and I go to Alder Creek Middle School. I'm a multi-athlete sport, or I'm a multi-athlete, yeah. I have been, what? Multi-sport athlete. Thank you. I have an IEP. School is really already hard for me, but I do balance it well with all of my sports and stuff. I'm going to walk you through a day if I move to the CIF. I'm going to have midterms or any type of test, and there's going to be 30 girls on a bus all laughing and probably talking, and I'm supposed to study for my test. That's not really, that doesn't sound fun. Also, every time I go over to the Winters house, they're always working on how to fix this.
It's just really important to them and for us kids. And my hope is that moving forward, we can all be respectful to each other when we have these hard conversations. Please set a good example for me and my peers, because I have noticed that some of the board members have not shown respect while members of the community are talking in previous meetings. So thank you guys. Just like how you said in one of your bullet points, we need to be nice. So just everybody.
Thank you, Charlotte. Up next is Sky Winter, and then after that will be Audrey.
Good evening. My name is Sky Winter. If I could say something directly to Superintendent Thurmond, this is what I would want to say. This is what I would want him to hear. It is his job to protect students, and he has the power to help us. Since he ignored your letters, I hope he will listen to mine. Dear Superintendent Thurmond, my name is Sky Winter and I'm 14 years old. I play basketball, softball, and golf. Sports are a huge part of my life. They are where I learn how to be responsible, how to work through hard things, and how to believe in myself. They have also helped me to do better in school. Sports do not just matter to me because I like them. They matter to me because they help me stay focused, work hard, and feel good about myself. That is why I want you to understand what this move to the CIF means for students like me. When adults talk about this, it can sound like it's just about changing leagues or changing a plan, but for kids, it's bigger than that. In Justin Bieber's words, I don't know how it's not clocking to you that when you change sports for kids, you are not just changing a schedule. You are changing their confidence, their friendship, and sometimes the thing that keeps them going. That is how it feels to me. If TTUSD is forced into the CIF, it changes what my future could look like. It means more instability, more missed school, and less certainty about the sport I love. It means that opportunities I am working towards right now may not look the same by the time I get to high school. That is scary for kids like me. We are already thinking about high school. We are already thinking about teams we want to be on and the goals we want to work for. So it really hurts to feel like those opportunities could be changed before we even get there. What is the hardest part about feeling like students are not being really heard? Adults keep saying that this is about protecting students, but if that is true, then why are the students who will actively live with this decision not being listened to? Please listen to the students like me. Please listen to the girls who are working hard in school and sports right now. Please listen to the students whose confidence and future are tied to these programs. And I want to ask TTUSD board this too. If you know students like me could be harmed by this move, why have you not made sure Superintendent Thurmond hears our stories? We have names, we have voices, and we deserve to be heard. Sincerely, Sky Winter.
Thank you, Sky. And Audrey? Thank you. And then after that will be John Halverson.
Hi, my name is Audrey Schaff, and I'm 14. I'm here because I'm worried about what this move to the CIF could mean for kids like me and my friends. My friend talked about how sports help her in basketball, softball, and golf. For me, I'm really worried about soccer. What scares me is not just that things might change. It's that by the time I get to high school, soccer might not even be there for the same way for me. That's a really sad thing for a kid to think about. When adults talk about this, it can sound like it's just about schedules or leagues. But for kids, it's not like that. It's about the sports we love, the teams we dream about being on, and the future we picture for ourselves. I'm already thinking about high school. I'm already thinking about soccer. I'm already thinking about what I want to work for. So it hurts to feel like those opportunities could be taken away before I even get there. And what makes it worse is feeling like students' stories are not really being heard. If adults already know that the CIF move isn't good for us in any way, then why does it feel like kids like us are the last ones anyone is listening to? I just want the board and the CDE to understand that this is not small to us. This is our future. These are the sports we love, and we deserve to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Audrey. And then after John is Han Winter.
Good evening, members of the board, and Superintendent Kramer, and audience members.
My name is John Halverson. I'm speaking to our community and all of you tonight as a parent, and a former and current student athletes, and as an advocate for our wonderful school district. We are at a significant crossroads. Following the NIA's decision to restrict participation of transgender student athletes, the California Department of Education has been clear. Our district is obligated to align with state law by transitioning to the CIF. But that is not what I'm here to discuss tonight. I'm here this evening to call for accountability in our community dialogue. First, I want to sincerely commend the students, the parents, and the neighbors who have modeled what that true civic engagement looks like here tonight. Thank you to those who have written thoughtful letters and stood at this podium here to share your voices respectfully. Your transparency and honesty makes our community stronger. However, we must also recognize where that standard is not being met. I specifically want to address the Tahoe Truckee Save Our Sports Facebook group. Their mission claims to focus on respectful dialogue, yet many of their posts, like a recent open letter, use aggressive language, calling out leadership by name, telling you here at this table to learn and hear your audience or read the room, and implying that the board invited this legal issue. In stark contrast, we have neighbors signing their names to letters, to social media posts, presenting public comments like here tonight, holding community conversations, and more. While this anonymous group is attacking the character of public servants from behind a keyboard, transparency is a two-way street. You cannot demand it from a school board while remaining anonymous. Beyond the rhetoric, we have a higher responsibility. As adults in this community, we must lead by example. Our students are watching us. They need to see modeled for them what respectful dialogue and healthy disagreement look like in a democracy. If we resort to anonymous and character assassination, we are failing to teach them the democratic values we claim to uphold. Importantly, we must also discuss the financial reality. District leadership has a solemn duty to be stewards of our public tax funds. Challenging a state law that TTUSD is legally obligated to follow is not just a policy debate, it's a significant fiscal risk. A futile legal battle would likely drain thousands of dollars away from our classrooms, special education, advanced placement courses, outdoor learning, and other vital student resources. Sports are a vital part of our community schools, but they are one of many essential programs that rely on these same funds and resources. To prioritize an unlikely to succeed an expensive legal challenge over the fiscal health of the entire district would be a breach of that stewardship. To those sharing their voices openly, thank you for showing our students how to engage, and thank you to the students. To the anonymous leaders of Tahoe Truckee Save Our Sports, I urge you to step out of the shadows and join in the dialogue that considers the entire student body and TTUSD community that we all love so much, the health of our democracy, and the responsible use of our community's tax dollars. If we all commit to setting aside conflict, we can strengthen our collective capacity to achieve the best resolution to this very unprecedented and difficult situation. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, John. Han, and after Han is Pat McKechnie.
Can Beth go in front of me? Can you change the order? Is that okay?
She does, sure.
Thank you.
Pat, would you like to go?
They can go, that's
Yeah. Oh.
Pat can go first. I'm trying to go.
Pat, okay, Beth, why don't you go? Let's just do what you ask. Yep. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you for the information. This is my son. He's coming for his first board meeting, so. My name is Beth McNeil. I don't enjoy public speaking. Apparently, I'm becoming very acquainted with this microphone, and I wish that were not the case. I gave my children 3 options when all this started, actually a while ago. It was homeschool, move, or I would advocate for your rights and what I felt that our family values were. My first appearance with the board was actually behind closed doors when COVID vaccine was being mandated or thought to be mandated by the state. I talked about the ICE protest. I'm here again over the idea that students traveling over the summit is considered safe. It seems these issues come down to one question: who knows what's best for their children, the state or the parent? I met with Ms. Kramer on February 11th regarding the ICE protest and the safety concern I had. I voiced that signs created by middle schoolers stating things like "shoot us" or "we shoot back" were inappropriate, and promoted the concept that political violence was appropriate on our impressionable minds. I was told the legal team would be consulted for clarification if this was allowed for First Amendment rights for our students. I followed up in March with an email, and I've not received a response in 3 months. That does not inspire confidence for me and our legal counsel. Furthermore, 2 California school districts remain in the NIAA, sorry. Why are they allowed to stay when we are not? Logically, either our legal counsel is providing bad advice, or members of this board simply don't want the move to happen. That's all I can deduce. For the record, I would like each board member to publicly state whether they support leaving the NIAA. I believe that information matters because you are supposed to represent us, and we elect you. We keep hearing that this is causing no harm. I completely disagree. This issue has brought stress and tears into my household for months. My children wanted to try out for winter sports that would require traveling over the summit, and I said, honestly, what's the point? Because I'm not going to let you go. You can't go. I have canceled vacations for not going over the summit. I'm not going to let somebody drive my child over the summit. It's just not going to happen. Many of our bus drivers are wonderful people, but the reality is that our hiring pool is limited here in this community because we are a rural community. We can barely find enough drivers to get our kids to and from school, and I think this should go on public record. In May of 2025, a TTUS bus driver was transporting the girls' softball team, was arrested for drinking and driving while he was carrying those students from Fallon on Highway 80. So again, the pool is limited. So this does not create confidence for me or the community. The financial costs and the implications for the parents is pretty substantial. You know, a lot of us are working. There are guidelines.
Thank you for your time.
Over?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I didn't time it before. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hand? Lars,
Good evening. My name is Hyun Winter. I had a speech prepared, but I really need to rebut what I just heard about Save Our Sports and challenging the state law, and I need to correct the record. First of all, let's not forget what started this all. Back in April 2025, NIAA did change their policy, and TTUSD did jump the gun. They ran straight to CDE. This is all in the public record. I would encourage everybody to actually download and look at every single document on that website before you make any allegations. So we can talk about anonymous complaints. The anonymous complaint that the CDE received, where's that? Where's that person? Does this harm even exist? No, we know that. So the standard is the Save Our Sports are trying to provide information. That's what they're doing. They allow for comment. You allow for comment. We're here for comment. But the transparency, I think, is actually not visible on this side. I have a lot more questions than answers. And I have combed through the website. I want to know why we keep saying that we have a 2-year delay when the CDE has only allowed us 1 year. We are living in limbo. There's inconsistency. That's why I keep coming up here. Give us the answers. Yeah, I mean, I can't find them. And I would love to have a dialogue. I can't have a dialogue in 3 minutes. It's just impossible. But I have other questions. So, which timeline should parents plan for? Parents were told, you might have to move to Nevada. You might have to move your child who has spent her whole life playing soccer. This is what you actually said. You told soccer daughters who would be a highly competitive varsity girls soccer player that if state-level competition is in her best interest, they will therefore need to switch to a Nevada school. I just need you all to let that sink in. What are we teaching our girls here? What are we telling them? We're telling them, sorry, your rights matter less than the rights of a former TTUSD student who alleged future transgender students would be discriminated against in NIAA without any actual evidence of discrimination. That's why we're here. And the inaction by this board, by saying that our hands are tied, we're challenging state law, we told you from December, you don't have to challenge the state law. That was never the issue. They never gave you due process. You had so many other procedural grounds to follow and to stand on, and yet you did nothing, because in December, you had to file your court writ, and you didn't, and you missed that timeline. So here we are. Thank you.
And final comment is Pat McKechnie.
Hello, my name is Pat McKechnie. Good evening again, TTOSD Board of Trustees, Superintendent Kramer, and the rest of you here tonight. As a reminder, I am a district employee, but here solely as a community member, as I was when I spoke about a month ago. I have no role or unique knowledge with regards to where TTOSD plays sports. No one has asked me to be here, and the only people who knew I was speaking tonight are a few family members. To the good folks here tonight advocating to stay in the NIAA, I applaud your support of our kids. We are lucky to live in a community where we have many engaged parents. You have a tremendous amount of energy. I'd continue to ask you to focus this energy on the root cause of this issue, the California Department of Education. To the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Kramer, I have deduced that you are preparing for the worst but hoping for the best. And I think that's the right strategy. But I also think we should be helping our future CIF opponents, schools, and districts in their transition to the Sierra Nevadas by reminding them how often I-80 is suddenly closed during even small weather events, suggesting that they start thinking about situations where their athletes could get held up on the east side or up on top, partnering with their bus drivers to learn how to navigate their chained-up 36,000-pound bus in the snow, creating strategies to combat rescheduled games, all landing at the end of the season, and reminding them that we don't plan to play our home games at their place, including soccer games. I really think these CIF schools deserve every opportunity to see what it's going to be like traveling up over Donner Summit in January. Lastly, I'm going to echo everything Mr. Halverson had to say. The Save Our Schools page is an unaccountable and anonymous pot-stirring page. There's a lot of inaccuracies on it. I try to combat it. You've probably all seen it. If we can be more factual on that page, that's how we become a better democracy, just like he said. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Oops, thank you, Pat. And that concludes our public comment on the agenda item 12.1. We'll go to 12.2, Superintendent Kramer.
Thank you, President Driller. So tonight, in the consent agenda, we have 5 resolutions that are celebrating all of our amazing employees. So this week is Teacher Appreciation and Classified Appreciation. We celebrate them all together in the first week of May. And then we have National School Nurse Day today, National Childhood Education Appreciation Day on Friday, and then our SLP Appreciation Day on May 18th. So I just want to recognize all these important team members. We appreciate them so much, and we know each site is doing special things in partnership with their parent-teacher organizations all this week. And we deeply appreciate all of your work, and we love celebrating you. For our strategic plan update tonight, I want to also express gratitude to our collaboration with the community, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, the Tahoe Truckee Community Collaborative of Tahoe Truckee and Sierra Community House and the Suicide Coalition Prevention Team. We had our youth forum, our annual youth forum yesterday, and it was excellent. We had students, high school students participating from all 3 of our high schools, and the focus was on hope and resilience. And students prepared stories of challenges they had experienced and then what helped them through those challenges. So it was a great opportunity to hear directly from our students, and it really celebrated the work of our school counselors and our wellness teams and teachers and just the importance of relationships. So it confirmed to me the decision of the team under the guidance of our school board to develop this comprehensive counseling and wellness program. It's really making a difference for our kids. So it was exciting to take part, and I appreciate that some of our trustees were able to be there as well to hear directly from our students. And then another great partnership celebration is our English Learner Advisory Committees at each school site. They have expressed interest in having a Day of the Child celebration each year. So each school site celebrates Day of the Child, some on April 30th and some on May 1st. They partnered with Arts for the Schools, and they brought in the mariachi band and the amazing dancers and provided assemblies at the school sites. And then last week, Alder Creek had their Kermesse and open house, and you can see a picture on the left there. It was amazing. And then last night, North Tahoe School and North Tahoe High School, as our students mentioned, had their Kermesse, which was also very successful. So we just really appreciate our community and community partnership and the ways that they support our students. It's great to have their voice and input. So our strategic plan was developed 3 years ago and was a 3-year framework, and it's built on the board's vision and beliefs. And so what the board did on Monday, kind of working backwards on May 4th, is we spent time with a facilitator from the California School Boards Association reviewing our vision and beliefs and looking at all that we've accomplished over the last 14 years. So this version of the vision and beliefs was adopted approved on September 5th of 2012. And then it was looked at again 7 years later in October of 2019. And that date's important because they looked at it again, but then a few months later, unfortunately, we had the pandemic and the shutdown. So it was looked at, and when we came out of the pandemic, we worked on the strategic plan based on the old vision and beliefs. So the board brought up this question of reviewing the vision and beliefs as a reflection during their self-evaluation process and their reflections in December and January. And they realized, it's been a while since we took a look. There's many things we really appreciate about it, but maybe it's time to modernize and do some reflections. So based on our work on Monday afternoon, they did conclude that they would like to make some updates to the vision and to the beliefs. So we're excited about that. And that's very helpful because next school year, we would like to do a robust process engaging with our community and updating our strategic plan priority areas and also the actions. And this aligns well with the Local Control Accountability Plan cycle, the LCAP. We're just finishing out next year the 3rd year of a 3-year plan, and then we'll be updating a new 3-year plan. So with the board making the decision to update the vision and beliefs this spring and over the summer, hopefully having something to unveil around the start of the school year is great timing, because then that will guide us as we relook at our strategic plan and update that, which will then guide the LCAP. So we're very grateful to our governance team for tackling this. It was a great conversation. I know in board comments you guys may share about that as well. So we'll keep the community updated as we go, but we're excited to continue that process of updating the vision and beliefs. And I just put them in here from 2012. And then in 2019, what was so interesting, and I wanted to share this with you, is it is the same phrase that we talked a lot about on Monday. In 2019, they chose to get rid of globally competitive age and put successful in life. And we also talked a lot about that phrase. So I know that board at that time, which some of you were there, had a great discussion. And again, that would have continued forward, but then the pandemic tossed us a curveball. Yeah, right, right. So that concludes my update tonight.
Thank you very much for that. Should we, I was going to say, can I move back to 11.0, first read of board policy? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure, did you?
I know that sometimes CSEA and TTEA stay to the very, very end, but in case they don't wish to, could we have them speak first before
Yes.
we keep going?
Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Aaron. Good call.
This is the potpourri night. We're just.
I mean, I know you stay till the end, but in case you've had enough.
I'll use my teacher voice. There we go. Happy spring. We had a really nice day today for all the teacher appreciation activities, which was really nice. Out there, all sites are still busy with spring activities. I asked for shout outs and I got just a ton. So too much to mention, but lots of spring activities, preparations for next year's, anxiously awaiting administrators, new educators, lots of field trips happening, the TK roundups, all those good things that are happening that are lots of fun. I know at the high schools, they're setting their link crew, getting ready for welcoming the incoming eighth graders, the incoming ninth graders who are eighth graders. Teachers are feeling very loved. We are in the midst of our elections. We've had a little bit of debacle with our technology. The elections went out. We normally have our elections done by now, but they're in the process. So, and then a necessary evil, I guess, is testing season is upon us. We heard it from the students, but yeah, we are living it at all school sites with the CAST testing. High school sites are finishing up a week of AP testing so far. My little AP Lit kids went today, and I asked them how they went. They're like, good. And they're a little blurry-eyed. Writing 3 essays in 2 hours, good. And then lastly, our bargaining team is gearing up for next year. They sent out their bargaining survey, lots of new questions on it, gearing towards just all the different ideas that have been flowing throughout the membership. And other than that, I'm done.
Thank you, Chris, for noticing. And then TTEA, or CSEA wasn't able to make it, so that's fine. Okay, perfect. So we will, thank you, Chris, and then we'll move back to 11.0.
Keeping you on your toes tonight.
Or do you want to go to donations, or no?
I can go last. No.
Can I still go long? Oh yeah. Let me start. Good evening, Board President, Trustees, and Superintendent Kramer. Tonight I'm honored to introduce you to the new AI Board Policy 0441 for your consideration. I do want to start by saying that Google Gemini helped me create a number of the images that you'll see tonight, including this one that looks like Emerald Bay and Donner Lake mashed up together, kind of. So I kind of went for the prompt of, I'm on a journey, like with this board policy, and where you live in Tahoe Truckee. I want some images that help me that way. I think it would have been better if I had some of those Truckee High art students. I agree. Policy 0441, so exciting. It's a new one, brand new. It has never been in the board policy book before, 3,000 pages of board policy. I've counted them all.
It's the culmination of several months of intensive collaborative work that we've done together, designed to define how TTOSD will navigate the increasingly daily complex world of artificial intelligence as it's generally known, also known as large language models, both with our staff and our students. We all recognize how amazingly fast this technology has been moving and how it has evolved. If we look back to 2022, we were in what many in our work call the era of blocking. Tools like ChatGPT appeared quickly in our classrooms, and virtually overnight, our immediately instinct was to protect the network and our students by restricting access. However, as we moved towards 2026 and beyond, it became clear that permanent blocking was not a sustainable educational strategy for us. And so now I like to say that we've become intentionally engaged. This means that we're currently managing AI access for staff to make sure that they're using AI in a way that truly enhances learning for students rather than detracting from it. So to ensure that the policy reflected our community's values, we formed the TTOSD AI Board Policy Working Group. Superintendent Kramer brought together a diverse cross-section of stakeholders, including parents, technologists, teachers, district staff, students, Trustee Hennessy, and Trustee Mooney. Thank you for being there. Over a 3-month period, we held 3 sessions to understand, discuss, refine, and ultimately define exactly what TTOSD needs from an AI policy to ensure it serves our students and our district, all of our needs and goals. So on behalf of the district, we're grateful, and I'm very grateful for the time that the AI working group spent together, and I'd like to give a huge thank you to all who participated and spent their time. They volunteered that time and energy to create the policy that we're giving you a first presentation for this evening. Our process began in November by examining the model policy provided by the California School Boards Association, CSBA. And while that model gave us a solid legal foundation, we were determined to have our TTOSD stamp be upon it and maybe even take out parts that didn't fit with our community. We mapped the state's general principles to our own core beliefs, and during the discussions, the primary concern that emerged was what we call cognitive offloading. Our parents and educators were adamant that while AI can be a tool, we can't allow it to become a way for our students to bypass the learning process. And this concern led us to the core concept that we are calling the productive struggle. On the top path of the mountain, you see AI being used as an easy shortcut. It's just a way to reach the finish line quickly and bypass cognitive development entirely. We talked a lot about that together. We're committed to the bottom path, where AI acts as a learning partner. The approach preserves the friction that's necessary to build our students' minds, ensuring that students still have to wrestle with the difficult concepts. We know that struggle is where the real, true learning happens. In March, our working group put each policy draft to the test by looking at some real-world scenarios. We asked ourselves how the policy would handle a student using an AI summarizer to avoid reading Shakespeare. Thank you, Professor Mooney, for helping us through that one. Or how we could respond to a pitch for a 24/7 chat bot that could be there for our students and maybe even replace human tutors. Was that even possible? The stress tests were invaluable and led us to a unanimous committee vote for the policy that I shared with you tonight. We like to call it version 3. Superintendent Kramer, our Chief Learning Officer, actually cut and pasted the version together for us. Version 3 separates the expectations for students and staff, ensuring that human-centered learning remains protected. All the work resulted in the philosophy that anchors policy 0441. Technology should serve the human experience, not replace it. As defined by Ed Code 33328.5, the policy establishes human-centered guardrails for every interaction that we have with machine systems, ensuring that the teacher-student relationship remains the heartbeat of our school district. Yes. The draft here is organized into 8 driving principles, which we've grouped into 3 categories. First, we focus on people, both our students and our staff. Second, we establish the guardrails for integration. And last, we outline our plan for adapting to an ever-changing future. I'd like to walk you through just how those pieces fit together. The first two principles establish a distinct approach for the users. For our students, the goal is to provide personalization while rigorously preserving critical thinking. In this context, AI is a learning partner. For our staff, the goal is to augment and support their professional expertise. Here, AI serves as a professional resource that functions under professional guidance, helping to reduce administrative burden so they can focus on their students. Principles 3, 4, and 5 provide the necessary guardrails. Sorry, I'll go back here. The necessary guardrails. We're prioritizing security and privacy by ensuring all the tools are vetted against district standards. We're also establishing clear accountability. Users must provide transparent attribution and take full responsibility for how they employ these tools, like images that don't come out quite right. Finally, we're committed to equity and access, ensuring that every student has a uniform opportunity. Let me go back there. There it is. Equity and access. That every student has an opportunity to learn these skills regardless of the school they go to, their background, or their ability. The final three principles ensure that T2SD stays as current as the technology evolves. We'll provide ongoing professional development focused on ethical and pedagogical uses of AI. We commit to transparent community engagement, keeping our families involved and informed. And lastly, we'll practice continuous improvement, regularly evaluating how AI impacts college and career readiness, and adapting our procedures as the world around us changes daily, if not by the minute. And that's what we've done at T2SD in technology for a long time. So where do we go from here? Pending your approval after our first read at the next board meeting, we'll follow the roadmap laid out on this slide. We're not rushing out to buy the latest software or spend more money on educational technology tools. Instead, our next step is to form a committee where experts will work together to figure out what we need and define our instructional needs first. The task will be simple. We'll define those goals before we ever select the technology we need to fulfill it. So thank you for your time and your commitment to our students' future and to technology and TTOSD for at least the 15 years I've been in this chair or standing here before you, having fun. And I'm happy to bring you Board Policy 0441 and happy to answer any questions you have about anything.
How exciting that we have a board policy that we've created.
Yes.
We've
birthed a new policy.
We have birthed. Pat and Chris, I'm going to let you guys start since you were part of it. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Thank you, President Driller. So, Mr. Hilton, thank you for your presentation. And this, in all the conversations we've had, both in this committee and the working steering committee, I mean, it's evident that you're going to be working very quickly and very hard the next several years. I mean, this is just, I'm not going to use the word daunting because it's given it too much power, but it is going to be challenging, and I'm very thankful that you're leading it because not only are you bright, but you love this stuff. So that's a good combo. What I just want to say to the board members, when Mr. Hilton says version 3, this was my favorite part. It was the very last day. We worked 2 days, and then that third day, the whole time we were together, and we had very old school, right? We had our poster boards, yep, and we got to put stickies on the things that were important and what we believed was the right thing to include and move forward with as a board policy. And then as humans kept having conversation, we're like, this isn't working. And so as we're having this conversation, you were very astute and you went and created a version 3. And then when we got up with our stickies, I think it was unanimous, right? Every single person in that work group chose version 3, which is what's in front of us. So it was just a fun and important process, and my AI brain was very capable and able to accomplish it.
Chris, I think it's commendable for both you and Pat to have that on your resume.
Oh, please.
That's a pretty
created a
good thing.
policy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes, on my resume. I agree with Chris in the sense that it was a great human interaction experience to come up with an AI policy. It seems kind of counterintuitive, perhaps, that we didn't just ask AI to come up with a policy. But as you said in your presentation, even though we used the CSBA as a model, we had to put the TTUSD stamp on it.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I liked best of your pillars in your little building there was the relationship between teacher and student was still the paramount heartbeat of education, and I applaud you for that. I also agree with Chris that having heard from teachers all year regarding AI in the classroom, I think I hope that you can find a way to make sure that all of these are actually implemented and followed. Students are using AI to go over the mountain, right? To go through the mountain, not to climb over it. And from what I am hearing from teachers in the classroom, they're using AI primarily for that purpose. I wouldn't venture to guess what percentage, but I would guess it's pretty high. And I think you're going to have your work cut out for you reeling that in and figuring out a way to make it a learning partner for students and not a shortcut for students.
And I think you're exactly right. I mean, what the learning happens between student and teacher, and right now we don't have anything where we can help students along and support them in that process. They're kind of doing that on their own, off of our devices, away from school. And we need a way to be able to do that and teach them appropriate use as the learning partner together. So we need a way to do that. So that's what we'll be looking at next. I'll be working closely with Assistant Superintendent Roderick on what that looks like and making sure that educators have input on how that looks.
I think that would be really important because they're the ones who are in the classroom dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. Every time they ask students to open their Chromebooks, which, thank you, is becoming less and less. They're battling the AI thing, and it's like bop-a-mole. It's like in 2022, it was a matter of just eliminating it, right, cutting it off, which now you can't do because it's everywhere. It's infiltrated every application online that they use, from Grammarly to dictionaries to writing documents to writing emails. Oh my gosh, right? So there's no more cutting it off. And so I'm really interested to see how you're going to integrate or how you're going to meld the access that they have with the responsibility of making it a learning partner and not a shortcut. I can't wait to see how you do that because I think it's going to be magic.
Yes. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks,
Ed.
Ed.
The next step, right?
It is the next step.
Is including the educators and having their workshops and then I think I shared this during board member comment at the end of last board meeting. We've also been kind of scouting for someone to come in, the right fit for our district, to come and do rallies with our schools, to talk to students and, there's a lot of work.
Set the perspective for AI and how it looks between here we are and where the world is at, how things connect.
And we are also having those conversations through student services, right, or education that, what options do our kids need to focus on for school and which ones really aren't worth the money anymore, So it's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing and steps, we're taking steps.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for your presentation. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Super helpful, and funny enough, I feel like this has been one of the biggest topics in my household lately, in part because my husband likes to make interesting logos with AI. And the flip side of that conversation that we have about AI is sort of the environmental impact. And my understanding is that there was some discussion sort of about that with the committee. And I think for me, because we just had our discussion about sustainability and integrating that into the district, and one of the things that was important to me is to sort of thread that throughout our education, that I feel like I don't know of another learning partner that has quite the extent of environmental impact as AI. And so if we're going to educate about how to turn AI into a learning partner and have that be an opportunity, which to me works both ways. Students are going to educate our educators as much as it's going to go the other way, right? Like, teachers probably don't know what they don't know until a student actually probably brings that forward to some degree. So I think it's going to be a very fluid process. But I do think having students understand sort of, yes, it's a tool, but it comes at some cost. And not to say that it's wrong to use, because I think, you know, not having AI available to our students would put them at a disadvantage. And frankly, like, they need to be educated about this, the good and bad.
Right.
But I do think part of the conversation for me would be kind of seeing that reflected somehow in this policy of whether it's a sentence or something of like, reflect on, you know, why am I using this? And to the extent that I understand by using this, there may be sort of another impact I didn't think about fully. I think that would be important. It honors the work that we've been doing for sustainability and our Tahoe Youth Action Team and all the work that our clubs have been putting into this effort. So particularly when, you know, we're going to lose a power service to Tahoe because of a data center, and poor Utah is getting hammered by the world's largest data center, and it's because of AI. And again, you know, I see value in it. I mean, I think I was the one that was up here talking before about our entrepreneurs that are out there. And I kind of chuckled when you see, you know, the kids that come forward who are like, I found a shortcut. Those are your entrepreneurs. Like, unfortunately, they are, right? I mean, I live with one where it's like, why would I do it the hard way when I could do it the easy way? I also have one that's very much like by the book, right? So there's a balance there. We're going to have people in our world who want to take the shortcuts and people in the world who don't. What we're trying to do, I think, with this policy is expose all of our students and our staff, frankly, to sort of the potential that it has, the sort of guardrails we're trying to put around it, and how to kind of walk away understanding how it can be this learning partner. So I think this is great. For me, I would just want to see some sort of reference somehow to the environmental impact that AI causes.
Yeah, and what's really heartening to me is that all your comments that you're saying, our steering committee went out and interviewed students as part of a practice to hear from them, and they all mentioned these things, including environmental sustainability as well. So it's definitely on our students' minds.
Your facilitator would suggest perhaps number 3. We could put a sentence in principle number 3.
Principle number 3.
We'll bring back an option with the first read, so this is great.
That's awesome. Thank you. Kirsten.
Oh, man. my throat is getting really scratchy, so I can't really talk very much. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Pat, and thank you, Chris, for participating in this committee and you know, dedicating all so much time. It's an amazing policy, and thank you, Ed, for, you know, spearheading it. I'm super confident that it's going to be amazing once it's implemented. Well, as Pat, never mind. It's already happening, but it's just creating structure around it, right?
Absolutely.
And your visuals were also really
interesting.
They really. I thought they were really cool. It was almost like watching a cartoon or something, you know, like I was able to really understand things that are very difficult to explain with just traditional language. But the models are so helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have no major further comments, but I do appreciate the environmental. That was the only thing I was thinking of, that I'm a proponent of having us have the availability, but that the environmental string through it, as well as our emotional support theme through all of our educational platforms and whatnot, is definitely something that we should consider. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But this is great. I'm excited that we have it. I'm excited that I think it may take a few more tweaks as we go. But at this point, I'm very, very pleased that our team has jumped on it. And then the process for this at this point would be to do a first read, and then with your, we'll make some adjustments, and then if it comes back, it will either be, it will not be able to be on a consent. Would it, if we just had a couple adjustments, or?
Oh, it'd be up to you. So we can bring you a version for first read. You can talk about it. And if you want more adjustments, then we can bring it again. But if it looks good, then the second read in the June meeting could be
Okay.
on consent if you
Okay.
wanted to.
So I guess at this point, if there are any other things that would be necessary to make adjustments to this first read? No.
No.
No, okay. And then we'll just add that reference to environmental or something, and then that sounds great. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Totally fun. I'm
I'd
excited.
be happy to do that.
Ed, thanks so much. You put a lot of time and effort into this, and I think
Yeah.
I think you have a huge challenge ahead of you, but I also think you're the guy for the job. So
Thank
feel
you.
confident that you'll
I appreciate your
keep
confidence.
things reined in.
Yeah, it was fun working with Kirsten really closely, too. We got to do it together, so thank you for all your help as well. Kirsten's a good facilitator.
Oh, good. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ed and team. That was great. If there's no further questions, I think you're free to go. We'll move to 13.0, Superintendent Kramer.
For this item, we're going to turn to our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Mrs. Shawn Roderick.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. Good evening, President Driller, Board of Trustees, and community. The Tahoe Truckee Education Association has generously donated $2,900.88 to support the Tahoe Lab program. This funding is designated specifically for the purchase of 8 iPads. Students will utilize this new technology in the field to collect data while working alongside our local community partners, further enhancing their immersive, hands-on outdoor learning experiences. Is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees accepts this generous donation from the Tahoe Truckee Education Association.
Wow, that's always exciting, TT. I'm glad you stayed. Good effort. Any comments from the board? Any public, I needed no public comment on any of these items. Okay. Would anyone care to make a motion for this lovely donation from our amazing TTA, Tahoe Truckee Teachers Association?
I will move to accept this very generous donation from TTEA.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. 13.2, 13.2, Superintendent Kramer.
Mrs. Roderick.
Thank you. The Optimist Club of Truckee has generously donated $2,000 to the Sagehand Outdoor Education Program. This is a unique outdoor education program for several reasons. Classes are taught by outdoor educators. The program provides local students access to standard-based learning environments in their own backyard, and students learn a variety of skills and gain knowledge about different topics. Classes may include local ecosystems, flora and fauna of the Sierra Nevada, water quality, and animal identification. It is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees accepts this generous donation from the Optimist Club of Truckee.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Roderick. Any questions from the board? Thank you. Would someone care to make a motion to approve donation 13.2?
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Optimist Club of Truckee for Sagehand Outdoor Education Program.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Moving to grants, 14.0, 14.1, Superintendent Kramer.
First one is our Executive Director, Dr. Anna Marie Cohen.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, Board of Trustees, and the community. For the past several years, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation has granted money annually to the early learning programs. This grant is actually additional funding to support the 2025 Early Learning Conference that was held in October of this school year. It is staff's recommendation for the Board of Trustees to accept this additional donation in the amount of $1,000 from Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Thank you, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. Any comments from the board? Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
I'll second.
All in favor for the grant?
Aye.
Grant.
Aye.
It's late.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. 14.2.
Mrs. Roderick.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, I'm pleased to present that Palisades Tahoe has generously donated $3,000 to support the Sagehen Outdoor Education Program. This program is made possible through a partnership among TTUSD, the Sagehen Creek Field Research Station, the Sierra Watershed Education Program, and the Shane McConkey Foundation. The Sagehen Outdoor Education Program aims to instill a profound appreciation for nature, science, and our local environment. In an era when children spend increasingly amount of times on screens, providing hands-on, activity-based outdoor learning is more valuable than ever. By delivering the lessons that are motivating, engaging, and fun, the program facilitates deep learning for T2SD students. It is the staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees accepts this generous grant from Palisades Tahoe.
Thank you. I have a quick question. This was, you said it was through SWEP, Shane McConkey, and did we write a grant for that, or they gave us a grant?
Sagehen, Kathy.
Those guys wrote it. Okay, thank you. Yep. Any other comments before I jump on the board? Sorry. With that, would someone care to make a motion for 14.2?
I'll make a motion to accept the grant from Palisades Tahoe for Sagehen Outdoor Education for 2026 and 27 school years.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we're going to go right to 16.0, which is the consent agenda. Were there any items that need to be pulled from staff or you, Superintendent Kramer?
None from staff.
Anything from the board? And at this point, could we have a motion on the table for the consent agenda as presented with all those lovely resolutions for all of our amazing programs at schools?
Staff. I will make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented this evening.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Perfect. 18.0, technology. Thank you, Superintendent Kramer.
And for this item, we turn back to our Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Ed Hilton.
Oh, wait, we already had.
And you told me to go home, but I had more. Thank you. Good evening, President Driller, members of the board. I'm here tonight to request your approval for a 5-year contract with Parent Square to serve as our new district-wide communications platform. Effective, reliable communication with our families is a cornerstone of student success at Tahoe Truckee. Over the upcoming school year, we will be fully transitioning away from our current system, Blackboard Final Site Communications, and moving our community onto Parent Square. We chose Parent Square because it provides a unified, user-friendly platform. It handles everything from urgent district mass notifications and attendance alerts to two-way classroom messaging. Importantly, it's the only platform that we found that provides two-way SMS or texting capability for communication with parents and the community without requiring them to download the app. And that's not just one way going out, but two-way back and forth. By consolidating our outreach into this single platform, we're making it much easier for our parents to stay informed and engaged without having to juggle multiple apps or communication channels. The agreement is for a 5-year term, which provides stability for our staff and families while looking into pricing. The total 5-year commitment is $172,972.02, funded through the general fund. The payments are scheduled annually, starting at $31,347.68 in year 1 and scaling up slightly to $36,988.54 by year 5. I recommend that the board approve the contract with Parent Square. Doing so will ensure a smooth transition over the coming year and establish a stronger, more accessible communication ecosystem for the T2SD community.
Thank you for that, Ed Hilton. Any comments from the board?
I have experience with it, and it's great.
Perfect. I actually checked in on it and almost wish we had it at our ski team, but it's wait, did I hear that?
The other ski team does.
But it does. It looks great. I'm very excited. I'll make a motion to, any other comment? I'll make a motion to approve the 5-year contract with Parent Square for district communication.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Business Services, 19.0, Superintendent Kramer.
Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. So tonight, we ask that you consider and approve Agreement 26-0010M with MCOR Mesa Energy Systems for district-wide quarterly building automated control systems service for the 26-27 school year, and the amount of that is $68,284. Historically, we've had kind of a long relationship with EMCOR Mesa Energy Systems. Initially, we brought them on to do installation of our new HVAC control systems when we did our bond construction projects. And since then, we've had them come back in to do recalibrations as well as regular maintenance and quarterly maintenance on our systems. This year, we brought them back specifically to look at our building automation services with regards to our building control systems to make sure that they're working efficiently and properly, and that the setup is according to how we've initially implemented those systems. So we're bringing them back again next year to continue that efforts in hopes that it will create some energy savings for the districts and just make sure that our systems are working as they were designed.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions or comments from the board? This is an action item, so could I get a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve agreement 260010M with EMCOR Mesa Energy Systems.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Ooh, 20.0, personnel, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, and for this, we'll turn to our Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Mike Shepard.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. I'm pleased to present for your consideration the 2027-2028 school calendar, and for you to approve the start date and end date. This calendar was given to the calendar committee to provide input, and then cabinet ultimately made the decision after this input to bring this forward to you. The start date of the 2027-2028 calendar is first student day is August 25th, and the last day, assuming we needed all 5 snow days, would be June 15th. And so per your direction, we reduced the snow days from 7 to 5, and I'm pleased to announce that we were able to restore for 27-28 the ski skate week. So with that, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I do want to just compliment the calendar committee, who I know it's a tenuous task, and it happens. It's a tough go. So anyway, appreciate that. Are there any other comments about the start and end dates for us?
No, but just before we make take a vote, not specific to this item, for anyone who's still watching this meeting, we get all of this ahead of time, and we do our homework before tonight. So as we're whipping through all these action items in the last 10 minutes, I just want to assure everyone that we have done our homework.
Thank you, Chris. I know that is true. It doesn't look like we do, but we do. So with that, Danielle, do you have any comments?
No, but I'll make a motion since I was on the calendar committee.
Thank you.
To approve August 25th as the start date and June 15th as the end date for the 27-28 school calendar year, and yay for getting ski skate week back.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. And this moves us right to board business. Kirsten Levac, what do you got?
Well, I'm running out of voice.
If you press that button.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for coming, working so hard at the governance meeting on Monday. That was, I think, very productive. Very helpful in getting us to sort of coalesce around the topic of communication and having a common vision, mission, vision and belief, core beliefs. And I just feel like everybody rolled up their sleeves and really put a lot of effort into it. And it was not easy, but I think we made a lot of progress, so thank you.
Thanks.
I too had a positive experience with a governance workshop, and just like I don't know if it's funny, but an ironic point is at the very, very, very end chunk of our day, we had a conversation as to whether or not, what happened was the facilitator, just for giggles, put together all of our items that we had listed for the vision and mission and texted a version created by AI. So that was kind of weird, but kind of funny. And I'm 90% sure that we came to a consensus that we will not adopt or create anything by AI that reflects our mission, vision, and beliefs. So that was kind of interesting and fun. And then I wanted to thank the Community Collaborative of Tahoe Truckee for putting together the youth forum again. Very powerful, as you stated in your update, and just reflecting on the quality of schools and just students and their student support, whether it's from our school staff or their home life or their support people. I mean, just tonight, right? Gold medal Nordic, award received at Carnegie Hall, and that's just 2 people. I mean, we have so many talented, gifted, and passionate students in our district, and I'm so proud to volunteer for a board that supports the people that support them and guide them and mentor them. And I think that is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
It's late, I'll be short. I also enjoyed the governance workshop, and then I got to attend a fundraiser for a nonprofit called Music Wings, which actually showcased all of the jazz bands from our middle and high school, in addition to local Truckee Dance Factory and theater. So I really want to recognize Music Wings because of the contributions they give back, both to TTUSD, because they do help fund some of the teachers that go into our music programs, but just the creation of community that they offer. So if anyone's looking for an additional partner and a nonprofit to support, I would suggest Music Wings. Yeah.
I want to acknowledge the Truckee High presentation today, what John Newberger had organized. It was great to hear the band, and it was great to see Mr. Steele and Ms. Martin's presentations on music and art, and who else was there? I think there was someone else as well. Mr. Newberger is probably getting an earful tomorrow morning from the drama director for not mentioning that, but we'll let him deal with that in the morning. I went to the open house at ACMS. That was great. It's nice to just meander around and see what's going on and talk to the teachers sort of in an unstructured way. They're doing a great job over there. The work that I saw on display was fantastic. It had depth to it. It had meaning to it. The kids over there are working hard to produce quality work and presentations and projects, and so I hand it to the teachers over there for, I think they're doing a great job from what I saw during open house, and of course from what I hear from Fletcher as well. The governance meeting was great. It was better than any of the others that I've been to prior. I felt like we really accomplished and made some headway regarding missions and visions, and had some really robust discussions around that. And I think Seppi was a really great leader for that. I think she's in tune with us now that she's not coming back. That's too bad, but I want to thank her for that, and thank all of you, for those of you who are there as well. It was great to work with you and see the list of things that you would like from the board in regards to your own work. So thank you for being there and participating. And I also want to bring up that the 7 drama kids from Truckee High School are heading to Ashland on Friday for to go to the Shakespeare Festival. They're going to see 4 plays. And I also want to note that the drama director does this on her own dime and doesn't get paid extra for it. She does it out of the goodness of her heart. She loves drama, and she's great. Yes, I am a co-chaperone this time. I'm sure there's an empty seat in a car if you want to come with. Have you been fingerprinted and everything?
Wicked. When is it?
Yeah.
Friday.
It's, we're leaving Friday at noonish.
Oh, I'm on a camping trip. I would have gone. You tell Mira that I'm on. Wrapping this up quickly, thank you for that governance committee. That was awesome having you come with us. I think it was great. We did have a good time, and definitely timely in terms of adjusting the mission, vision, and actually the mission, and our beliefs. Definitely enjoyed that. Youth Forum, again, banging it out. We love hearing from our students, and we love hearing what they're doing, but the cool thing for me was when we were in the second room and just saw how many people are out there. It reminds me of Sierra, when we go to the graduation, just so many people in our community that are attuned to what's happening. When you look at all these, Optimists or Palisades, people know what's going on with our school, even though they're surveyed and say everybody. I think we're here for our kids, and I think we do a really, really good job. So with that, looking forward to some nice weather. 8:39.
All clear.